Welcome to the show. Happy Friday to everybody. It's end of the week, and of course, there's nothing big going on. Just a regular show here on the Council on Future Conflict. My name is Scott. I am the proprietor of the Future Conflict channel, and as always, I am joined by a wizened group of wise elder statesmen in the world of anarchy, death, destruction, and hope for a better future. But of course. We are not the doom pillars, but man, our pills are pretty gray, especially today, I think. There's a lot to be hopeful for, but there's a lot to be worried about. Of course, we're going to be talking a lot of Texas stuff today. We got a couple other things to kind of get started with. And we've got a pretty good lineup today. Some folks we haven't seen in a little bit. We've got a couple other folks that are going to be popping on later in the 2 hours. So buckle up. It's going to be a good one, guys. Joe, how you doing?
I am doing well and good. And before everyone asks, yes, Cammy, the collapsed kitty, is here enjoying the show. And we will see what's going on today. I've heard there might be a thing or two going on. I don't know.
My favorite, one of the things that's going on today is my favorite. World Ends Through an EMP Tragedy author is here, author of the survivalist theories. Angry American Brother. It's any day we can have you in here. It's a good day, and I want to also say hello to the folks watching through you've shared the link to your platform. So welcome to anybody over there watching through Angry's channel. How you doing, man?
Good, man. You know, I kind of had to be on today, you know, when we're talking wars and rumors of wars in CONUS. I figured we should get together and chat about this one. I didn't have it on my bingo card, Texas versus the Feds, but I did put it in a book. It's actually in one of my books where Texas tells the Feds to go pound sand.
Yeah, that was it. That was the last book I finished of yours. I reread that one. I went and bought the audio book for that one, and I think it was last month that I listened to that one. It's been a while since I've read the original version, so the audiobook was a good experience. And there was a lot of stuff in that really kind of, you know, when I re-encounter it, especially after 2020 and all that kind of stuff and all the things, I was like, wow, this is really on target for a lot of the things that we experience. So that's got to be, you and Blaine are probably my two favorite authors that I feel like they're reading your books and then they're trying to do the things that you guys came up with.
You just wait. There's a project that will come out later this year that is so very timely, and the powers that be are really not going to like it. I really want to talk more about it, but I'm just not because of the concept behind it and stuff. But I think you guys will like it. I think everybody's going to like that one a lot. It's kind of sticking it to the man, sort of what Texas is doing, but it's just the average guy that. You can demonstrate what one person really can pull off if they're dedicated to it. So,
a little bit of that. What kind of American are you?
yeah. There's a whole lot of that actually in it, but this started before that even came around. So,
right. Well, you know, the funny thing is that he's supposed to come across as the bad guy. It seems like in that trailer, and he comes across as the one that everybody kind of.
But you know the premise of that movie is going to be that the administration in power at the time is a Republican administration, and that the states were revolting against him. It's set to be like an anti-Trump thing, but when they put Texas and California together, that's when I was just like, okay, now they're Looney Tunes.
Well, it's a fantasy, and you know, of course. Speaking of
the workers are going to rise up. You know.
Speaking of rising up, Don.
I'm not rising.
Are you ready?
No,
are you ready?
What are you talking about?
You ready to fire for effect there in Texas today?
Well, look, I got to say, for the first time in a long time, I'm considering enlisting in the Texas National Guard. But until then, probably no.
Don's wife has already offered me the couch if I decide to come and assist.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, you're there. You're local. You're local there in Texas. So you're going to be our correspondent on the ground for the duration. So I hope.
Someone in the chat asked where Blaine was, and given his scenes of the Alamo in his books, he's probably advising Governor Abbott right now. Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah, exactly right.
Currently unavailable.
I angry. We were just talking about like them reading your books and trying to imprint on reality what you guys are creating in fiction. I mean, literally the scenes of National Guard having to fire on progressive crowds, and right next to the Alamo. I mean, I can absolutely see that happening because. Well, we're not going to get into it too much right now. We're still in intros, but there's a lot to be said about what could happen in both the short and long term with this. Knock on wood, I want to establish the tenor going forward. We don't hope for anything bad to happen. We want good things to happen. We don't want anybody to get hurt. But, I mean, there are forces of evil out there, and evil doesn't evil usually wins when there's a lot of dead people laying around. So just keep that in mind. Speaking of dead people laying around, Ron, how's the body count there in the snow doing? Are you using the snow for temporary storage?
I have no recollection of those events, Senator.
I just
On
like
the advice of my attorney, I like that. Yes,
I like the bloody arm banner you got there. That's it's appropriate for the mood.
Golad or Goladad, however you pronounce it. Sorry, it's really early here in the middle of Nowheresville. So,
how's it going? Everything
Fine.
going copacetic for you?
Fine. Yeah, trying to stay involved locally here. Asking uncomfortably hard questions and watching local politicians squirm. That's always exciting. So they don't like being asked hard questions and then getting asked follow-up questions by other people going, "Oh, I hadn't thought of that." So
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about spending millions of our tax dollars on somebody's personal little pet projects. So
It tends to be a lot of that going around these days.
there is a lot of it going around, and yeah. So, anyways, yeah. But thanks for having me on, Scott. Appreciate it.
No, this would be a good topic to have you weigh in on. So, and I like to have you back whenever you're available. So, I'm glad we could make it work. Another guy who hasn't been on for a while, Sniper. This is almost a topic designed for your guest appearance here on the show. I see you have your own laser eyes on today. How are you doing?
In his U.S. Marshal Service issued Fed hat. Yes.
Yes. Well, I'm doing great. I mean, I will be here until I have to hop in the truck to go to work. I will probably try to get back on the phone, but if phone audio sucks, then that'll be the end of it. Right now, I'm shucking axles and preparing for a mysterious road trip in late April that that Joe might not know anything about.
I was going to deny all responsibility, and you had to go and open your mouth about it. So,
hey, look, man, at least he put it on you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, actually, I think there's somebody else who's more responsible for this than me.
Well, I mean, there is a point at which I'll be at your house a little after midnight. You better be ready. There's a little bit of that did go on.
Yeah.
No. Well, this is all Joe's fault. Dimes have already been dropped. I dodged that.
It's good to have you back, brother. And this is, like I said, I think this topic is is tailor made for you. And of course, as always, keeping us straight, making sure the trains run on time. Watcher, how's the snow situation in your neck of the woods?
Good. I'm just trying to decide how much of a Sketty Man comparison you were trying to make there, but
more quality hall monitor, right?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, doing good. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm having a really good day. brief note, I know there's a lot of nerds out there who've expressed the want to support my other small business. We have a very weird opportunity to do so. If you go check the Twitter feed, we opened a serialized card that's probably worth in the neighborhood of $1,600 to $2,000, or $1,600 to $2,000. So pretty cool stuff. Yeah, been things have been starting to line up for me, and we're doing good. And weird having my life start to uptick right as everything starts to downtick at the same time, right?
There's that.
Well, you know, I mean, all politics are local, and you know, when you're a small business person and you're in a good market where you live, you know, sometimes the pains of the rest of the world, you know, pale in comparison to the successes you're having locally. So, you know, it's kind of like, you know, take God's blessings when you get them, and even if the guy on the other side of the country is having to eat a little crap, so there's nothing you can do about that, right?
Yeah.
All right. So before we hit Texas, there's a couple things that I've seen pop up, and I wanted to make sure, because these are all things that potentially could, you know, be lead-ins for a full topic on a regular Friday, but these are all things that I wanted to hit, and there is a little bit of connection to what's going on writ large in all of these as well. So bear with me as we kind of go through these. We'll hit these quick because I know we want to get into Texas talk. First thing here is survey reveals extreme bias towards January 6th defendants amongst potential DC jurors. So this is interesting, guys. And I think this goes to show, you know, we're all very supportive of the Constitution. We're supportive of the people's individual rights under the Constitution, and we see injustice, and we're like, what the hell are they doing? You know, when we look at Texas, we're thinking, hey, this is a no-brainer. Here it is, right here in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, right? You know, that's what we're thinking. But you know, the average Joe Blow NPC living in California or living in New York or in this case DC, 50% bias. So listen to this: nearly 50% believe that a fair punishment for January Sixers is life in prison or the death penalty.
Can I tell you what this leads to, though? This does not lead to deterrence. This leads
That's
to
exactly
war.
right.
Because
exactly
now,
right.
if I know this, okay, well, going in, these people want to kill me or send me to prison for the rest of my life. Why would I peaceably leave? I need to finish the job. And in that vein, I think you need to share that tweet I just shared in the private chat for folks headed to Texas in relation to this very issue.
Yeah, the Jesse Kelly one.
Yeah. We need to listen. If you're in light of this, if you're headed to Texas, don't listen to this guy. Okay, I mean, he's not there to help you.
I mean,
hey, why would you diss on my man Lay Schmeps like that? That's
I'm not Ray Epps. I'm Ray Schmeps.
But
that's my twin brother, right?
Hey, jokes aside on this, the reality is, if you don't think this is a deliberate gulagging, the only thing I can do is yet again remind you that most of the time, when you're going to be prosecuted for something as a defendant without a whole lot of money, right? They allow you to do it in your home federal jurisdiction in order to help you maintain the routes that you need and where you might have better luck at getting a lawyer and so on and so forth and so on. And out of the 1,200 that they have done any sort of prosecution against, only about 100 of them have been able to keep the venue at home.
Well, and so that's going to go out the window. And by the way,
because
I'm sure. Oh, go ahead, man.
All right, one at a time, guys. Don?
Oh, very well. So, look, that's going to go out the window because the simple reality is not being able to get a fair trial is a reason to move jurisdictions, which means it's also a reason not to move to a jurisdiction where you're not going to get a fair trial. So I'm sure somebody here is hypothetically worried about being transferred to DC to get gulag. That article alone is look, 50% of the jury pool. There's no way I can get a fair trial there. And since most of the people left that they are going to charge from here on out are going to get charged with trespassing, hey, they think the death penalty is a worthy punishment for trespassing. Well, you can't send me there. And unless your local judges are completely out to lunch, you're probably not leaving.
Yeah.
I was going to point out that this is important because of the two people from Michigan who applied for an appeal on the basis of entrapment were removed from state prisons in Michigan and transferred to federal prisons halfway across the country for that exact reason, to avoid them being able to meet with their attorneys and organize their defense. These guys wrote this letter one time, and one of the points in which they stated that they wanted to divorce themselves from their government was the transporting of people across the seas for trial. And boy, that sure sounds kind of like what's going on in this particular situation. So.
Correct. And it was always a formality to request to keep the venue at your home. It was just a formality. They always granted it until now.
Mm-hmm.
It's lawfare against the citizenry. It's to cool your actions and stuff. It's the two-tier justice system is being done intentionally to discourage people from defending their rights. I mean, it's just a fact. That's what they're doing.
Oh, and the only other thing I'll say on this is, Scott, if you think there's a such thing as a normie in Washington, D.C., we need to talk.
No.
There's a normie Washington, D.C. person.
There is that.
You gotta remember, there's a difference between a normie and an NPC, right? An NPC can't think for themselves. A normie doesn't have time to think for themselves for the most part. A normie has hope. An NPC doesn't have hope. And let me tell you, all the welfare queens in DC are absolutely in the NPC category. Because I've said it before on this channel, and I'll say it again: there should be nobody living as a resident in DC. DC should have a population of 0. Everybody should either work there or they should be there temporarily because they're working specifically for the federal government for a limited time, and then they leave when that time is over with. All right, that's my thought on that. By the way, the other thing I want to say on this is we've seen a lot of this, guys, these formalities that become way more hard line in the last 7 years, ever since the like Roger Stone getting his door kicked in, the old pre-dawn raid for something that is normally a hey, we need you to come in and surrender on Friday at this time
and order in.
Exactly right. And so that became the just the way they handled all this stuff, and that happened to numerous January 6th people. And it happened to a lot of the Trump collusion folks. So I mean, this has become a something that is just it's a political persecution tool. It doesn't matter if you don't spend one day in jail, but just the optics of having that TAC team come in and beat down your door, especially right when you're ready to open it for them, is just ridiculous.
Holy shit! Hold on a second. I found the entire viewing audience of the January 6th Select Committee. They got them all in a single survey. This is incredible.
Right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
There's a couple details in here I wanted to tease out. Of the, let's see, a survey conducted by Triton Polling between January 4th and 8th, obtained exclusively by Epoch Times, reveals an extreme level of bias amongst potential jurors living in Washington towards anyone who participated in the protest at the Capitol. So they don't even specify a specific crime, right? They just say, hey, if they participated, what do you think, right? Of the 422 jury-eligible residents surveyed, 27.5 described January 6 protesters as insurrectionists. Others described them as criminals. Domestic terrorists 14.9%, traitors 11.6%. So I mean, these are pretty strong words.
People who just overran the White House a few days ago.
Yeah.
Mom, dad, brother, sister. That's what they call them. Anyway,
Sniper, you're not required to share Natalie D tweets every single time you're on the show, bro.
I'm sharing the meme.
Speaking of simps,
I'm sharing the meme.
Damn.
oh, that's called out right there. The overwhelming majority also strongly 75% or somewhat agree, 14.4%, that former President Donald Trump is to blame for what happened, and 76.6% strongly agree that Mr. Trump's supporters are racist. This just goes to show you the level of, I don't know, delusion that's going on within, your average Democrat that it doesn't support Trump. It's completely unintellectually engaged. There's no basis to fact. It's projection. I think ultimately at the end of the day.
Hey, so who else has seen that study about the rat utopia?
Rat utopia, yeah, the beautiful ones, and
Why exactly? Why are we surprised that the beautiful ones see a problem with the dirty lower classes having been granted access to their
all the
pretty
more
chambers?
reason why Washington D.C. should be returned to its natural state as a swamp.
Yeah, all these people that are saying that life sentences and that sort of thing, they're like the French militia. They need to learn history and what happens to people that think this way, who want to walk down the path of genocidal language. Eventually, the targets of your talk will have to defend themselves or not. And there were French that sided with the Germans. The militia, that didn't work out so well for them. The resistance put them against walls when it was over, and justice was swift. The difference is these fools in this country want somebody else to do that dirty work for them, and they forget that the else people are made up of mostly guys like us.
Yeah, good point.
You muted yourself, Angry.
Yeah, at the very end. Yeah.
He's still talking.
Yeah, guys like us, and then you muted yourself.
As I really wanted to hear what he was going to say.
You're still muted.
Still not back.
I don't know if he can hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Yeah, that's right. We cannot hear you. All right. Yes.
That's a great video, great picture there. Yeah.
Well, it just cut out. So, all right, let's. I'm gonna go ahead and move us on. I think that, like I said, you can see how that connects directly to the Texas talk. The next one is more Texas related, like as to why do we see this overwhelming problem with viewpoint on conservative things in general, but specifically some of these hot button issues. Now, I don't know who this guy is from Adam, but from time to time, the broken clock is right. He says, my party is completely delusional. Dean Phillips destroys Democrat demagoguery of Republicans after attending Trump rally. Because, he, like these people in the study, think that Trump supporters are racists, right? They're just terrible people. They're the dregs of society, right? So it says here, 2024 Democratic hopeful Dean Phillips attended a New Hampshire Donald Trump rally this week where he said he met thoughtful and hospitable and friendly people waiting in line. All of them are so frustrated that they feel that nobody is listening to them except for Donald Trump. Sound familiar? I saw the line of people waiting in the cold for hours, and I thought, what the heck? I'm going to be a leader who actually invites people, doesn't condemn them. He said, I met probably 50 people Trump people waiting in the line, and every single one of them thoughtful, hospitable, and friendly. My party is completely delusional, Phillips concluded, and somebody has to wake us up. And if that's my job, so be it. So, I think there are good people on both sides. The problem is there's been so many lies, so much propaganda on the left, that it's so hard for people to break out of their thing. Now, here's the other thing. Now, this is where I put my cynical tinfoil hat on. Is this an op? Is he saying this to try to bring some Trump people over to a guy like him? And because he doesn't have to believe it. He just has to try to take advantage of it.
He needs a lot of them because he didn't even beat Joe Biden in the primary, so in his own state. So
Yeah, look, this guy is basically Andrew Yang, which is to say that the right-wing media loves him because he doesn't like what a bunch of the left is doing, but he has less than a snowball's chance in hell of becoming president.
Yes, and I mean, this has been done before over and over and over again by people that have gone to Trump rallies and been like, oh my God, these people are actually nice. And then what happens? The left excoriates them and they wind up in no man's land. Well, by the way, he's already there.
Well, somebody who has done a lot of pressing of the flesh of actual voters in recent months and years, Ron, I mean, he's right. I think that most voters out there, specifically conservative voters, are just good, salt of the earth people who are frustrated, right? And
exactly.
They don't love Trump because he's Trump. They love Trump because he seems like the only person out there that's listening to them. And another guy that we've seen out there that's had a similar effect is Joe Kent, right? He's one of these kind of guys who absolutely connects with the regular people out there. So if you could speak to your experiences about kind of interacting with the electorate, because I don't know who knows if people know, but you ran for a state representative,
state senate.
Senate, yeah.
Come on, always go for the upper house, never go for the lower house.
I know.
Why be a Marine when you can be an airman?
See, and that's why I run the.
Sorry,
that's the funniest thing I've heard all day.
Be an airman. That's what a military hobbyist. I mean, I know that's really the Navy and the Coast Guard, but
no, that would be Space Force. But that's okay.
Where the term chairman actually comes from,
It's true. Well, I tell you, remarkably enough, I went into the campaign very naive with regards to the voters. I thought everybody may not be as engaged on events, local or state or national or international events as I was, but at least they would know. At least they would have a modicum of understanding or familiarity with some of the issues. Yeah, no. Oh my God. The low information voter is not a myth. They are everywhere. Conservative, liberal, idiot, whatever. And what little do they know, they get it from, well, I saw on Facebook or I saw on Instagram or I saw on TikTok. And it's extraordinarily terrible. And so, yeah, but you're right. I mean, people are looking at, they hear what Donald Trump says, and they like, damn, finally somebody gets it. I mean, the thing that first, the first time I heard Trump and actually listened to him was when his what I call the escalator speech, when he came down the escalator and announced, and he said some things that's like, geez, this is something that that Joe and I would be saying if we were sitting at a bar and talking, and oh my God, this dude wants to run for the presidency of the United States and he's saying these things. Shit, I'm going to pay attention. And Joe Kent's even better than that. And Joe, Joe is very always on message, and he's very. And I don't want to sound like a politician when I say on message, but he's very thoughtful and articulate, and he doesn't go off on these little side hustle speeches that Donald sometimes does with his. Sometimes Trump can't help himself, and but but yeah, I mean but voters are very fickle, and then you sit there and you go like, do I agree with them or do I try to educate them, or do I just smile politely and move on to the next voter? And it's disheartening in a way.
Well, somebody who actually I think did a good job of that, and I don't think that's nearly as organic as I think what both a guy like Donald Trump and Joe Kent, like Vivek went out of his way to engage people who disagreed with him, right? And like actually gave them time to speak up in his little town halls that he did, and he engaged them directly and responded to their points, and and tried to be a human to them. And I think that's ultimately, if you're an old school Democrat, right, not one of these neo-Marxist red book thumpers, right? If you're an old school Democrat, just engaging with these Trump supporters would do you a whole lot of good, because you're not anti-American. You just you feel like people need more of a helping hand up. That's the old school Democrat thing. Oh, well, I don't mind giving a little bit of money to a poor down on their luck laborer or somebody like that, right? I mean, that was the old school stuff.
As long
and
as
if
it's
they
not
just went
my
back
money.
to that,
Yeah, as
right,
long as it's
right.
not my money, I'll give away Joe's money.
But that's
Yeah.
the difference between conservatives and liberals, right? They didn't have a problem using government money to do it, the social safety net. But it's
Right.
it's
The only thing I will say is that we only have his side of the event, engaging with the hospitable Trump voters or conservative
Sure.
voters. So it's been my experience that when I've had now as a citizen again, not as a candidate, you know, you run into these people and you ask them hard questions or tough questions, they move on rapidly, and they don't like that, and they don't try to engage you and anything like that. And I'm not
I will.
hospitable by any stretch of the means. I'm
I will
Roxy.
absolutely back Ron on this. I have asked candidates questions that are even vaguely tough, and the first thing they do is deflect, and the second thing they do is have whoever's holding the mic run to the opposite side of the building.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's just bad. That's just bad practice, right? I mean, I get it that maybe you can't answer every question, but at the same time, when somebody asks you a question and you give them an opportunity to ask you a question, you have to answer the question. That's the first rule of public engagement. Answer the question. Don't answer the question you want to answer. Answer the question that you actually get. Now, you don't have to go down the rabbit hole on it, but at least answer the question. All right.
Don't
Anyway,
they go to school to learn how to obfuscate questions like that, like to not answer them, because all they do is talk in that circular logic that they use, and all of them do.
Yes, I actually
Yeah.
trained that technique. It's a bridging to your messaging. That's the technique there. But
another John Kirby honor graduate student.
No, John Kirby actually lies. I don't.
I know.
I actually believe that you can't lie when you do that kind of stuff.
Damn, a man with ethics and integrity. Shock.
Well, it's like that tweet from like earlier in the month that I said, if the shoe fits, I mean,
I know, I got it.
That criticism is very true for a lot of people in my profession.
I mean,
And
Kirby's
there
been lying
goes
since he
any
first showed up
hope.
in Baghdad. Yeah.
There goes there goes any hopes of Scott's political career. That was it right there. It's over.
Well, the good thing is that a lot of people in Korea aren't watching this channel, so it's okay.
That's right. It's too late here.
He can be the first immigrant president of South Korea.
That's right. Well, I don't know. People who run for office here either get stabbed in the neck or hit over the head with a rock.
Yeah, Scott doesn't have enough cult member affiliations to be president of South Korea.
That's true. I need to become a Mooney in order to have a chance here.
Fucking Mooney.
All right.
Jeez.
I mean, if the shoe fits, right? Anyway, so this article goes on, but I thought it was interesting that a mid-ranking Democrat came out and said nice things about Trump supporters, which is in this day and age pretty damn rare. And I tend to agree with what he said, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. All right, this next one is I mean, I don't know that this surprises anybody, but the United States has the biggest government in the history of the world by a very wide margin. I thought this was no surprise here, but I feel like the Biden administration, the acceleration of the size of the U.S. government has absolutely increased. In addition to the all the other things like the deficit and the national debt and the inflation, it's like we're in this hyper period of growth of things that are not good. And so
it's almost like this country was founded by men who believe the federal government should be very, very small. And we're at the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
True,
Yeah. Well,
the current iteration is trying to bring it down under its own weight, because the United States government exists for one purpose, and that's to perpetuate and expand itself. It's like
Exactly
blah.
right. Exactly right.
It's like a virus almost, right? This guy does a pretty good job of breaking down some numbers. He says here approximately 3 million people work directly for the federal government. The federal government spent $6.113 trillion in 2023. That figure is larger than the GDP of every nation on the entire planet except for the US and China. More than 70 million Americans are on Social Security. 70 million. Then that's what, about a fourth of Americans, roughly. Holy cow! I didn't think we were gonna. Stan, welcome.
Hey guys, how are you?
Are you in the luxury lounge at the airport there in Vegas?
Yeah, I wouldn't describe it as luxury, but I'm in the gate area. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know
was
who
the
called
show,
my
by
boss,
the way?
but hey, I'm now in
Pardon
trouble.
me?
What's up, man?
How was the show?
It was interesting. It gets repetitive real quick. There's only so many things you can do with an AR platform, and when you've got 1,000 people making an AR platform, it gets pretty repetitive in a hurry. So, if
This
you're
is why
doing
we
things
should
that
focus on the AK platform.
I was spreading the gospel this week. So.
My man.
But
1,000 things you can do with the AR platform, and about 100 things you can do with the AK platform because it runs.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
always runs.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that.
Oh, I love mine. I'm a proponent of both, is what I'm saying. I love the AK too, so I've got mine.
Yeah. So anyhow, really well attended. 62,000 people, something like that.
Is that SHOT Show or is that the porn thing that was next door?
Is there a
Come
difference?
for the guns, stay for the buns.
Well, no, that was SHOT Show, and people from all over the world. It was pretty interesting. So it was time well spent, but I have a 3-day rule in Vegas, and I breached that this week, and I need to get out of here. So too much stuff going on elsewhere. So.
Yeah, we were just talking about the size of the federal government when you popped in. We're doing a couple odds and ends while we're here on YouTube to kind of set up our Texas talk here in a minute. So I think real quick, guys, just to kind of go down this list of numbers here, I think this is important for people to realize the amount of people who get aid directly from the U.S. government. So 65 million people are on Medicare, 81 million Americans are on Medicaid, more than 41 million Americans are on food stamps. And if you were to add into that, like VA benefits, which I was kind of surprised he didn't have listed here, it even gets bigger. So, we very much prefer not to call ourselves socialists, but precisely what are we? And so I thought this was interesting to kind of look at those numbers and look at the size of the U.S. government. Over $6 trillion of spending. Absolutely, this is unbelievable. Guys, I'll just kind of get comment and we'll move on.
You guys saw the letter too that they put out about the bureaucrats slow walk stuff, slow things down, leading up to the election. So that's the problem with having that large of a government. You've got all these bureaucrats and their unelected officials who all want to put their spin on everything, their ideal. They think they're in there saving the country when they're in there destroying it. There should be a statute of limitations on how long those people can be employed by the feds too, in my opinion, as well as politicians. Term limits for all of them.
Well, is that Watcher? Is that your kind of learn to code? This is where your learn to code meme kind of pops in. Is that?
Well, that was the thinking. Yeah.
Ongoing mainstream media, both. Yeah, I didn't have this added in, but this might be worth talking about. With the size of the U.S. government's huge. Got it. We're not going to be able to get rid of that anytime soon. But the news media is self-destroying just as we speak. There's several kind of viral Twitter posts talking about this. And, this kind of goes back to the whole idea of learn to code, right? Remember to bully journalists. It's the moral thing to do. And this is disclose. This is a response to that disclosed media, disclose.tv quote from Axios. An ongoing mainstream media bloodbath is decimating news outlets nationwide in the United States. I mean, and I was referring to that Taylor Lorenz video that's going around where she's basically, lamenting the death of mainstream media. Rhino Ron, you're sad that the Sports Illustrated won't be able to put another transgender on the cover of
Rhino
the.
Ron? Did you call me Rhino Ron?
I said, I know, Ron.
Oh God!
I don't know. I heard the same thing.
I was going to reach through the screen. Enunciation, Scott. Enunciation. But just real quick, it's not just the national media that's suffering this. It's even here locally, our small town newspapers.
Yeah.
Very, they only print the stories that obviously they want. It's editorial choice. But when, I discovered one of our elected officials was triple dipping, and this type of thing, and he resigned one position where, so now he's only double dipping, and I brought it to their attention, and I wrote an op-ed, and the editor in chief and the publisher, well, everybody does it, so it's okay, and I go, but it's wrong, and you should report it. You should let the people know. No, we don't have to. We don't want to. All right, fine. And then they wonder why they're losing subscribers to their newspaper, just locally here. But hey,
we're not seeing the death of journalism because none of these people that lost their jobs or walked out because they're no longer employed are journalists. They're pundits. They're mouthpieces of a propaganda organ of the state. That's what this is, and people are realizing it and getting sick of it. This is a natural progression of what we're witnessing in this country right now. These are all steps you can check the boxes. We're just walking the path.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't make the connection I thought you were going to make when you introed this the way you introed it. But I am celebrating this as the largest layoff of government employees in my lifetime.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
To the not reporting things people want to know. Welcome to a thing that is going on all across media, everywhere, of every variety in this country. You, the consumer, are an assumed outcome. It is, all of them think you are guaranteed to purchase their product. And so the question is no longer whether or not they're serving you what you want, but whether or not they are serving whomever else will pay them whatever else. And in the case of local newspapers, if you go after politicians, then the politicians don't want to talk to you anymore. Then you can't report on them and you can't ask them questions directly. You can't say, I got this scoop. I asked this question in public, blah, blah, blah. And you just don't worry about the consumer side of it because it's just a foregone conclusion that the consumer is going to keep purchasing. And as news media and Disney and boatloads of other people are finding out, it's a lot less foregone than it otherwise was.
Yeah. All right. Anything, Stan, you got a thought on this?
No, not really.
All right.
I've sort of sworn off most of that media anyhow. So.
Yeah, the irony is that when you exercise it from your daily kind of input, you start to not notice what it's doing. Only to the extent that it becomes a headline that you do consume, do you even know? So that's kind of been my experience. My job has forced me to kind of, immerse myself in certain types of media and whatnot. And when it doesn't force me to do that, I don't do it. So,
but it begs the question. So we're seeing the death of the mainstream media and journalism as we thought we knew it. So what's replacing it? How do our leaders, our politicians, our leaders, get information out to us? Is it through social media? Is it through?
They lie to us, Ron. They lie to us.
I know. Citizen journalists who don't follow any sort of code of ethics, or
influencers.
Patrick bet David. That's how.
Well, no, it's TikTok. I mean, it's 15-second videos on TikTok that are actually worse than the mainstream media ever was.
Right. But that's all their attention span is, I guess.
but it's also Joe Rogan, right? You know, a 3-hour conversation with somebody who is supposedly an expert. And in the 3 hours, you can find out if you think that person is an expert or somebody to be trusted, because it's hard to hide who you are when you talk for 3 hours straight. You know, a lot of truth comes out, and a lot of rocks get spilled out of your bag that normally in a soundbite type interview you would never release. So
That's why I'm always behind you during those ruck marches, putting those rocks back in your rucksack.
I know you are. It's I need them to. I need more weight, man. I mean, that's how you get stronger.
There you
more
go.
weight. All right, I think we wrap this up, and we'll take a brief, shameless commercial break here. Let Joe, got a little tactical wisdom going on this weekend. There's a lot of weird stuff going on out there in the world.
So a couple of things. I wrote an article a couple days ago about you don't have to live like a refugee, and that stemmed from visiting a camp that exactly, and I referenced Tom Petty in it. Visiting a camp that a preparedness group had while I was traveling, and it's pretty cool stuff there that you can do some improvements and some plans to work on your quality of life. You don't have to live like a refugee, live out of tents, live out of cans. Maybe do some things to make it more like a home, and quality of life is important even when everything collapses. So pretty neat stuff. And actually Angry's books help motivate that too, is those people didn't want to live like refugees. So they went back home and continued to try and build it and make it into something better. So check that out. Good stuff there. If you are local in Michigan, at the Romeo Community Center on Sunday, one of my local guys is hosting a Stop the Bleed course where you can get certified in Stop the Bleed. I'll be there. It's going to be kind of neat. Romeo Community Center on Sunday. I'm not sure what time, but if you're interested, send me an email or a DM, and I'll drop you the details. But we're at that time where you should already have all your gear in place, and everything you're doing now should be training related. Getting the skills ready, getting around and moving it. There are still slots available in NC Scouts February Scout and Recce course, where you'll get the opportunity to come out and shoot at me. So pretty awesome class opportunity. So yeah, Chris. All right.
Nice one, Chris.
There's nothing better than shooting with your friends. It's just a good time.
For the record, if you do ever come to NC Scouts training camp, you will be shocked at the number of celebrities who wander through there. I once ran into an angry American there. And
it can happen.
It can happen. And Risky Krisky came there looking for me last week, and I was already gone because he's slow.
That would have been fun. That would have been a fun hangout right there. And and like we've said before, Joe, there's nothing like the vibe at the G camp.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. And like I told you, I was just recently at a different G camp, going to the austere thing you're talking about, where we spent a couple weeks living in the field in very austere conditions. And yeah, learn to build comfort in, guys, because that sucks. Been a prolonged experience.
Hey, wait until you find out about the partisan camp, much like the G camp. So
yes,
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Feds want to pay me to train me to do these things. I'm going to take them up on it at every opportunity. So,
absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely.
Well, so let me just kind of go over to commercial plug segment part to do. Angry, you want to talk about is your most recent the latest where we get the saga of the new governor of Florida?
Yeah, that's exploring home, and there'll be another one out this year, as well as some other projects coming out this year. On February 8th, I will be at the Florida House. I will be sitting through a session of the Florida House. I've been invited to sit through a session of the House, and I'll be giving a talk to some of the leadership there that evening. And so I put it out on my Facebook page to all my fellow Floridians. If you guys have questions you want directly asked, the talk will be filmed, so the Q&A will be filmed as well. And that'll end up on my Patreon page. So if you guys have questions you want to ask Florida politicians, post them up on my page, and I will do my best to put them to them. So
Yeah, that's a great opportunity. It's it's interesting that we're starting to see an actual engagement with our point of view. Our because 20 years ago, if you had a long beard and you were a prepper, if the only people that wanted to talk to you were booking agents for National Geographic, right? I mean, everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but now it's you've got legitimate preppers that are in Congress and this in the state houses, in the state senates, and so it's there's a lot more people realize that, and here's the other thing too, right? Prepping and living a lifestyle ready for bad things to happen is a great way to just live life. Not worrying about the worst case scenario, but by the because if you have a hurricane or if you have an ice storm where you lose power, I mean, if you're ready for the EMP to hit or something like that, then these things are nothing for you.
Yeah. I mean, we all have insurance. This is just life insurance, a different form of lifestyle insurance. Call it what you want. That's all. Exactly. It's assurance. I mean, let me put it that way. It's assurance. And that's why people do it.
Yeah, no, I think it's great what you've done as far as kind of just making that a practical lifestyle within your fiction, and so good on you. And it's anytime that we can help spread the word, I think is a good thing. I see your note there, Watcher. We'll see it when we see it. I don't want to get anybody too excited.
Shit. Well, in the moral words of Dalton, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So.
Well, and Scott, this isn't in the notes, but I found in my opinion, a better intro to our next topic. If you wouldn't mind,
go ahead, because we're gonna talk Texas now. We're gonna get into the nitty gritty. We've broken it up into two segments. One talking about what Texas is doing, the supporting Texas. And then the what are the knock-on effects? What are the bad things that are potentially going to happen with this to include, and leading up to potentially a second civil conflict, because we've already got a map that is emerging, and you have a pretty even division of states.
And now I just want to give everybody the breaking news. I mean, this is just coming in. Biden and Abbott to face off in wheelchair joust to the death.
Yes.
Okay. See,
bring back blood sports.
Yeah, leaders fighting, champions fighting, determining the fates of nation. I'm all for it.
Wait, hold on. It looks as if there's been an update. Breaking: Biden defeated by stairs. Abbott wins by default.
All right. Well, if you like this tomfoolery and you want to talk Texas with us, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do it with us here on YouTube, because YouTube is a little prickly about stuff. So we're gonna move this over to our favorite Italian restaurant, Bongino's. We're gonna go on over there to continue this discussion. And if you haven't done it, or if you haven't, first of all, we're being shared, like I said, on. We're on our normal platforms, Rumble, X, and YouTube, but we're also being shared over on Facebook with Angry's Facebook page, and also on your
YouTube. And I'm going to leave mine up because I don't give a shit. YouTube don't like what I got to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, real quick, let me before go into in credit mode here. Not so stealthy Yeti, member for 3 months. A hurrah for the red, white, and blue flag that bears the single star. That's
y'all just
That's a bastardization of the most beautiful Civil War song ever sung. But I appreciate the sentiment. Absolutely
apropos, very apropos.
I thought it was Scott, a Texaco commercial.
Scott, you did just make me realize that I need to work up an alternate version of the transition thing with a different song that's essentially an ad for Bongino's.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you need something with Al Pacino reaching around the back of the toilet flush.
I'm sorry.
The-
Like
the
I know
pitbull.
I know a lot of people like Al Pacino that are older, but the only thing I can think of when I hear Al Pacino is, "What's my name? Dunkachino." Sorry.
No, it's got to be the leave the gun, take the cannoli line. That's got to be.
There
the
you
one.
go.
Nope, it's
That's
not
the
that
one.
though. It's him doing a Dunkin' Donuts commercial
No,
and
I know.
completely
Yeah,
selling
well,
out.
He's sold out.
How do you not even think of Heat in the slightest?
Again, well, have you seen
the
the
diner
Dunkin'
scene?
Donuts thing?
The diner scene in Heat is pretty good, but the best Al Pacino quote from that is, "She's got a great ass."
Exactly.
All right. Hunt,
I
speaking
accept
of
no responsibility for anything going on.
Punch the Dirty Roofer for $5 says, to all my fellow 40K fans, food for thought, is Abbott set to become the first Dreadnought?
Also, to all of his fellow 40K fans, food for thought. If you order through my web store, you get a 20% discount. So I'm just saying.
If you're a 40K fan, if you're not using our boy Watcher here, you're missing out. All right. Bob Johnson, see all the super chats coming in here right here at the last minute here. Old internet lore, Bob Johnson for $5. Old internet lore. The timeline is unfolding like the time traveler John Titor has described.
Only if you leave out a lot of other stuff he said.
Right.
Sure.
And that this was supposed to happen 20 years ago. But other than
now,
that,
this is an Art Bell thing, isn't it?
Yes, you're correct.
Well,
yeah, deep lore there.
Yeah, that's not even internet lore. That's like, that's AM radio lore right there.
Coast to coast.
I know.
Where Watcher and I both.
This
is where Watcher and I both snort and push our glasses up.
Yep. Yeah. I was just gonna say. Well, actually,
somebody gonna start doing
this was
Wolfman
actually
Jack
a thing
now?
on an internet forum significantly before he brought it to Art Bell. Art Bell was like a reintroduction to everybody. But yeah.
Well, yeah, right. It was an old BBS kind of deal, right? Probably.
As far as I understand it, the original dude who did the John Teeter thing had done it back in the days of God, what was that old? It's an older protocol that everybody still talks on. That just lets you chat.
BB4.
No, people still use it now. I'll think of it here in a minute. But
BBS is the old, basically kind of like internet before the internet. Like World Wide Web before the World Wide Web type of thing. So you actually had sites and whatnot. So IRC, yeah, that's the other one. That's the chat.
IRC, thank you. Yes.
So IRC was a little later.
I liked ICQ. That one was pretty good.
Yeah, ICQ was the first messenger I think I remember using. Usenet, yeah. Yeah, Telnet was the first internet I used like daily. That would have been like 94, 93.
All right, gents. Are we ready to make the jump? Are we going?
Yeah, I think so. So
yes,
let
please.
me
My
let me
lasagna's getting cold.
Let me wrap this up. I've put the link here. This is where you can go to Bongino's and join us for the rest of this conversation.
And reserve a table.
That's right. Reserve your table right now over at Bongino's. Right now we've got 428 watching over there at Bongino's right now. We still got 125 hanging on here on YouTube. Appreciate all of you guys for being here. This has been a great lineup, and we'll continue this conversation. And if you're in the chat, I want to say thank you because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing here. It's guys like, if Tactical Wisdom wouldn't work, if you guys didn't, show Joe that love, same for Angry American, his books wouldn't be able to do anything if you guys weren't. So we appreciate you patronizing our businesses here. And if you're new to the channel, which I know we got a bigger than normal audience today, please hit the like button. It's free to like these and it helps us in the algorithm. Also subscribe to the channel. We're pushing towards 1.6 over on Rumble, and we're still kind of a little lower here we're shooting for 4,500 over here on YouTube. So if you guys can help us by subscribing, that'd be great. All right, gentlemen, we're going to take a minute break here, and then we'll be back talking on Bongino's.
2, 0, 1.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone.
3, 6, 4, 6.
The chair is against the wall.
3, 6.
The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache.
8, 2, 5, 0, 9.
It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
2, 1.
Yeah, Watcher, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Inger.
I was just going to say, I got to say that I don't trust guys with just mustaches. They seem to have a problem with commitment.
Uh-oh.
You and I are going to have to go Bowie knife to Bowie knife, dude.
I will bring the Dalton modified kukri. That will be my blade of choice.
That's all right. I'll use the old Harrison Ford method.
We need to bring back the old. What was it? The old special Soldier of Fortune conventions where they had the red painted rubber knife competitions poolside in Vegas.
You mean one of my classes? Basically, we take a rubber blade and we use metal blades, but we cover them in chalk. And that way you can see the marks when you get hit.
I like putting red lipstick on them because it smears better.
Yeah, I've heard lipstick I've heard lipstick as a training additive before.
All right.
What is it with Marines?
All right. So guys, let's
carry around lipstick, unlike these two cats.
Like a sim round, but different.
I don't even know what a lipstick looks like. So all right.
It's too close to a crayon for me.
It's like one of them push-up candies, Joe.
Look, man, it's a real rich crayon, right? Like those are the special occasion kind that you hide from.
Right. It's an imported crayon.
This crown smells good. All right. All right, guys. Let's pull up this first. So we're talking Texas here, and it's first of all, I wanna just poll the room here. Stan, how long are you going to be able to be with us here? I want to make sure that I maximize your participation because I know you're probably on a timeline.
Troll. I'll jump in when I need to. So.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. All right. So this first, I don't know that this is our lead-in. This is our lead-in for the next segment, Watcher, because this is more the Civil War aspect.
I'm out of order.
There.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
You're out of order.
Yeah.
Another Al Pacino quote. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, there we go.
And justice for all.
So, early, what was it Monday when the Supreme Court came down with this whole, was it last week? Was it last Friday? I can't remember which. When did the Supreme Court decision come down?
Last week.
Was it last week? Okay. So essentially all this has kind of been boiling coming out of that Supreme Court decision. This is a story from Zero Hedge. Texas defies lawless. Biden invokes right to self-defense from invasion with more razor wire. It says Texas Governor Greg Abbott just drew a hard line in the sand, putting the Biden administration on notice that he's declared the migrant crisis an invasion and invoked Texas constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. And so we've got this letter linked here in the story as a separate thing to pull up. But basically, he says here, the authority that is supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary, the Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority, as well as Stan. I'm just going to hit your mute button. Yeah, just Stan. I can hear the lady there coming over the PA. The other Texas personnel are acting on that authority, as well as state law to secure the Texas border. Guys, this is, I mean, I've seen both things like, oh, this is the most constitutional crazy stand that's happened and who knows how long. But then I've also seen, Abbott's WEF, Biden's WEF. This is all, kabuki theater, So, you know what? I'm going to turn it over to my favorite warlord from the Caucasus Mountains there to comment first. Brother Matt, it's been too long.
It's been too long, man.
But you're a busy man, so I'll take whatever I can get when it comes to your time. What's your kind of take on this, and where do you think this is coming from?
So, I commented on this last night. Joe was on the show with me over on Radio Contra. But something to keep in mind here, and I'll keep this one somewhat brief, is the timing of all of this. When we look at the timing of everything, this is following Davos, right? And the World Economic Forum, coming out of the Davos meeting, has unequivocally spoke that they are going to end petroleum, right? They're going to end it altogether, all of it, right? And the thing about this is that there's no alternative. There's no viable alternative. They don't have that, right? And they haven't really thought this through. These are the privileged elite, the powered elite, but they're not the smartest, sharpest people in the world. They're really not. I mean, they're not sending their best and brightest. So something has changed behind the scenes, right? Wars follow economics always, 100% of the time. We don't just go to war for no reason. All right, there's an economic reason, and that economic reason is over petroleum. So if you look at this morning, and man, last night, did I call it or what? If you look at this morning, the Biden administration says we're going to halt any more LNG exports. Well, if you look at the map of where those exports are coming from, they're coming mostly from Texas. So see, they say they're going to defund Texas, right? Well, we're going to accelerate this. This is going to end up hurting the Biden administration that much worse. They're literally cutting off their nose to spite their face.
Right.
And that we can look at Europe. Europe is kind of looking back at us and saying, hey, you promised us when we gave you the green light and looked the other way when Nord Stream was blown up, right? Let's just blown up, right? We know who did it. It's pretty cut and dry. Right? The Russians didn't do it. We did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We went to them and said, we can supply your demand. That's Biden. Biden said that on record. He made a public statement where he said that on record. Blinken said it. There were multiple assurances that were made. Oh, no. We can supply that demand, right? And now they're saying, oh, no, we never said that, right? It's totality of the circumstances here. And that's why Abbott was given the green light to go, because politicians follow their benefactors. That's what they're hired to do. Okay. Anybody that thinks, politicians and you look at it all Pollyanna-ish and, God bless you. But no, they're hired to do a job, and that is what they are there to do. That is what they're going to do. And Abbott represents his base.
Yeah.
Where's his money coming from? And in Texas, that's always going to be coming from big oil.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that because we had two great examples this week, and this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but I think it's worthy of mentioning before we kind of come back to the border thing. Is the bought and paid for politicians. We had the Carrie Lake release where she basically is getting, hey, how much can we give you in order for you to hold back for 2 years or something like that. Right? And then we had the James, what's his name? The Project Veritas guys. James O'Keefe had that new release where the guy is basically saying, yeah, we have these sex parties, we give people money, and then we go to them and say, listen, we're going to pay you to do this, and if you don't, we've got the goods on you from this that you were taking part in. And he basically blew that whole thing open. Now, it's one guy talking and he could be making things up, but I honestly believe that's the way Washington works. It's absolutely a honeypot, to get especially these young Congress people that come in that, they're on the ground floor. And then once they own them, then they push them up the ladder.
I can confirm that.
Well, I mean, we do have, that's the whole ladybug economy of Washington D.C. All right, let's come back to the border thing, because I think you're onto something. I think that there is more going on behind the scenes as why Abbott did this, because Abbott is not like the most staunch conservative constitutionalist out there. No. So I think it's interesting that he's saying this. So there's a couple points here that he makes in this letter that I wanted to read real quick, and then I'll throw it back to the floor here. He says, despite having been put on notice in a series of letters, one of which I delivered to him by hand, President Biden has ignored Texas's demand that he perform his constitutional duties. President Biden has violated his oath to faithfully execute immigration laws enacted by Congress instead of prosecuting immigrants for federal crimes or illegal entry. President Biden has sent lawyers into federal courts to sue Texas for taking action to secure the border. President Biden has instructed agencies to ignore federal statutes that mandate the detention of illegal immigrants. The effect is to illegally allow their en masse parole into the United States. And then the third point is by wasting taxpayer dollars to tear open Texas's border security infrastructure, President Biden has enticed illegal immigrants away from the 28 legal points of entry along the state's southern border, bridges where nobody drowns, and the dangerous waters of the Rio Grande. Now, I mean, that's kind of a little more of a humanitarian talking point there on the third one, but those others I think are pretty damn legitimate and effectively summarize the problems that we've seen for the last 3 years. I mean, we have 6 million people crossing the border just in the last is it calendar year, or it's something crazy.
That's just an estimate. That's what we know.
Right. It's an estimate.
We really don't know, by the way, for anybody that's wondering. Like we actually don't know. There's not somebody standing there being like, hey, no. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, there's no big clicker in the sky kind of click, 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 click. They all came through. I mean,
now I will tell you this. The NGOs that are facilitating this, they know.
Yeah.
They damn sure know. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something that however all this stuff works out, I mean, we're the sides are certainly galvanizing on this, right? Which is the point I was making last night. It was another point that I was making that this is the conversation has started and the sides are beginning to coalesce on. And it's not just this issue. If you look at the broader sense, it's the economics of it is big oil. They're saying it's big oil versus everybody else saying, hey, we want to put you out of business. They're saying, oh, hell no, you're not. And, and America is, Americans are really hung up in that. And if you look at the left and the right, look at what vehicles we drive. Right. And I'm sorry, the left in the United States has no capability of sustaining any sort of economic infrastructure. They don't. Watch them. Watch them. They wreck everything that they touch. This is not up for debate. The numbers don't lie. The liberals out there, the rainbow flag wavers and these assorted fruitcakes have no idea how to run anything, because their only answer is well, we just print more money. Well, I got news for you. What's that money based on? It's the petrodollar, right? That's the linchpin of it all.
Matt, we saw this in real time. The WEF version of this is literally Sri Lanka. That's what they did to them. Exactly what you're saying they want to do here.
They literally wrote about how Sri Lanka was a model of the future sustainable economy.
And how'd that work out?
Wipe the model. How cosmopolitan.
I want to point out one thing.
Cosmopolitan.
Going back to Russian natural gas, LNGs, didn't we start a war in Eastern Europe over Russia selling natural gas? But yet,
we sure did. We sure did.
By the way, I spare no opportunity to point this out. It was one that was terribly prosecuted, terribly led. It was equipped and fought just like the global war on terror against a peered adversary, and they lost. They lost. It's period. They have lost. All right. You have Lloyd Austin that's all but admitting that they've lost this thing.
See, this is why I don't care how many. This is why you need to vote for Nikki Haley, because she will tell you that second place is really first. See, you are just totally wrong, Matt.
I admire the way you got through that with a straight face.
With a straight face, I know. Only Ron can do that. It's probably because the mustache holds it up,
Right. It's so, we're but to the larger point,
oh
though,
my God. Hold on,
the NGOs, this is something that I want to point out that I didn't say last night, is that any Republican running for national office, what needs to enter their conversation, this is for national office. State level could also do this. There is this form of law in all 50 states, as I was advised by a good friend who is an attorney. That and is a person that would know, but the language now needs to be RICO. We're going after every NGO with RICO laws, and we're going to shut them down. RICO, racketeering, because that's exactly what it is. And on the national level, the conversation along with that is repealing the McCain-Feingold Act, getting rid of that. Because what that did, if you look in the very fine print of that, anytime you have a Republican and a Democrat getting together, signing both their names to a law, you're in trouble, right? So it's just like George Carlin said, anytime they agree, you lose. It's love him, hate him, indifferent. He was right about that. All right. What that did was it created a backdoor funnel through 501c3s, these non-governmental organizations, to be tax-free, and then they can make non-taxable donations that would end up being off the books to these politicians. This is what incentivized the invasion of the southern border. That's exactly what did it. And so when you look at every one of the churches that have jumped in on that, why they're doing all of that, because it's money. And it's a backdoor way to give money. The Republicans have been in on this too. Okay. They were in on it too, but not to the degree the Democrats were. The Democrats were the real beneficiaries behind it. This is why they never had any interest in stopping. Okay. So that needs to be in the conversation. And I'm telling you, if you go and you go to the public outings and you meet these candidates, doesn't matter if they're a local candidate, state level candidate, federal candidate, whoever it is, you ask them point blank, if you get the opportunity, how do you feel about using RICO to go after these NGOs that have facilitated this? Because we know for a fact they have. All right. Pueblos Sin Fronteras. Okay. People without borders. All right. Headquartered in Chicago. This is part of the Marxist International. They're all part of that. You can look their website up. Why has nobody went after these guys? Why have they not went after them? We know what they're doing. We know who they are. We know where their money is coming from. Shut it down. What? Why is where? Of course, I could say where's the FBI on this? We all know, right? But all it takes is to begin that conversation, and you start uprooting it, right? How you weed a garden, one weed at a time, and RICO is the tool that you go after them with.
Yeah, that's
only
especially
used
the
against
ESG
conservative
stuff.
groups. So,
well, no, but I think you're onto something, especially with the when as a way to attack the ESG stuff. I mean, but unfortunately, we got to get in power in order to use that law against these criminal organizations, right? That are that's the downside. Otherwise, I think you're right, Joe. I think we're going to see RICO used against conservatives.
Going to see? We have.
Well,
we already have. Yeah,
we already have. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
What we need are states' attorneys generals to pick up RICO charges against these NGOs to start the ball rolling, because the feds are never going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, that conversation's been made at the state levels. I mean, they were talking about that in Georgia with charging the entire Trump campaign. They were using the RICO framework for that.
Yes.
It's going to end up falling flat. It already is because they went about it. Well, it's proof that these people are not as smart as we give them credit for being. But that's a whole other conversation. The thing is that the left is doing this. I mean, they're already doing this. So, the Republicans need to quit being the controlled opposition. And how does that happen? Well, we're already seeing that happen with Texas for sure, and these other governors. And I mean, that's fine. There's a lot of people who are black pilled about it, and nothing's going to. Hey, all right, we shall see. Certainly, we shall see. But I kind of have a feeling that this is the conversation has started. The ball is certainly rolling. There's the economics are following it. This is something that I've stated over and over and over again.
Well, and the other thing, even if we don't get critical mass on this issue at this point in time, this is opening a lot of people's eyes. They're seeing something that they've never seen before, and it's like if you can add new people every time to the population of, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, Angry. I mean, when 20 years ago, you couldn't find a prepper if you needed to. Now, being a prepper is like, oh, well, I'm glad my next door neighbor's a prepper, right? Or it's kind of, it's a lot cooler to be, in that. And I think we're going to see that with people who view the standpoint of the federal government is not on our side, and in fact, Texas has shown us that the federal government is actually in some ways trying to hurt us. Real quick, I wanted to hit the reason why Governor Abbott actually has the right to do this. This is a Wall Street Silver tweet where he pulls out the quote from the Constitution, and I think this is worth reading. It's always good to go back to the good book, the little white book that I carry around in my pocket every day. This is Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3. So I won't go through the first two clauses there, but I'll read the entire third clause. Because I think this is, a lot of people like to linguistically twist the Second Amendment because of the weird syntax, but this is pretty damn clear. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in a time of peace, enter into an agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power, or engage in war unless actually invaded. Shocking. Unless actually invaded. Now, what is an invasion, guys? I mean, do you think we could find the example of invasion going on along the Rio Grande there at the Eagle Pass? I think
it's pretty simple. I think Matt and I almost 2 years ago identified several Venezuelan soldiers armed and in uniform crossing the border. I mean, it's crazy. It is definitely an invasion. So,
yeah. You mean this isn't Suriname?
Say that again.
I didn't hear that.
I sorry, it was a Venezuelan military joke. They were actually looking for Suriname. They were lost.
Yeah.
We got a little lost
To
on the
Venezuelan
way.
second lieutenants.
We are here for the
You
oil.
boys are a little off course.
So they need to take the old land nav course there at the G camp, I think. But I thought it's good for people to realize that there are some pretty clear things in the Constitution, and I felt like this was pretty damn clear, unless actually invaded. It's not like some sort of ancient, hard to read English that with weird syntax. Because let's be honest, if they were to rewrite the Second Amendment today, we could make it more clear. But it's pretty. It's if you read it as the language was written at the time, it's easy to understand. It's people with this modern English trying to kind of make the older English make sense. This is a great case of, hey, if you were to write it in modern English, this is about as good as you can get it.
Give up that hope right now. We live in a world where we argue about what a woman is, and you think we could reasonably write people are allowed to have arms of any variety in a fashion that the people who don't know what woman means would reasonably agree with us. That is, whew, buddy. I love you to death, but that's a mighty pipe dream.
Let's at least be clear about that. The people who maliciously don't know what woman means.
I mean, does that make it better? Because I feel like they
no, it
already
just means
hate
that they'll
guns,
do it
and that
about
balance
literally
would be there.
anything.
Well, we have a member of the Supreme Court that says she wasn't qualified to define what a woman was.
There you have it, right? And those
That's
are the
not
people who are
her
gonna be
only
deciding.
non-qualification.
Oh, that's just one of many.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, I mean, look, you I've been saying it for years. You can't make an honest rule that dishonest people are going to follow. And so, whatever hope you might have for, like, yes, you can own whatever you want, right? Is they're going to come at you with the definition of ownership. Why did they precede it with yes? Yes implies that there's some no. I mean, on and on the games will go. So much so that of all people, Tim Pool used to have this story he would tell about how he brought some foreigner, handed her the Second Amendment, and she said, yeah, it says you have the right to own guns and that the government can't do anything about it. And the whole room broke out laughing because someone who just learned English 6 months ago understands immediately when you read the Second Amendment that, yeah, that means the government can't do anything about guns. But somehow or another, we pretend like that's not the case.
Shall not be infringed. I mean, it's so there's a line from this letter from Greg Abbott. I thought this was good because not only do you have a constitutional duty to defend against invasion, but then there's the other side of it, right? Like, well, maybe what is the hidden hand of the founders? What were they looking at? What were they worried about? Why did they put unless actually invaded in that thing? And it says here, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and the other visionaries who wrote the U.S. Constitution foresaw that states should not be left to the mercy of a lawless president who does nothing to stop external threats. And so they actually saw this as a potential for a president who literally has the opposite of the benefit of the state's interests at heart when controlling the federal government. And so I thought this was pretty damn interesting that he's keying in on this idea of a lawless president.
Well, it's the president has violated the take care clause of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you need another ground for impeachment, not that it'll go anywhere but I mean, this whole administration is violating the Constitution. So every one of those cabinet secretaries that swore their oath is in violation of it. So
we got to remember too, it's not just this administration, it's the entire apparatus. The entire behemoth is not what it's supposed to be.
This is true.
It's not the fault of one party. They're duplicitous, both of them. So the whole thing needs to there needs to be some remodeling done.
Let's kind of cover this. So looking at so Abbott has taken this stance, and whether you think it's brave or not, that's irregardless. He's taken a stance. He's gotten support, and now we've got Republican governors band together, issue joint statement supporting Texas's constitutional right to self-defense. And so this is the text of the letter here below. I don't want to read the whole thing, but I think it's important. Maybe this is a good paragraph here. We stand in solidarity with our fellow governor, Greg Abbott, and the state of Texas in utilizing every tool and strategy, including razor wire fences, to secure our border. We do it in part because the Biden administration is refusing to enforce immigration law already on the books and is illegally allowing mass parole across America of migrants who entered the country illegally. I mean, you know, we've seen what's going on in cities like Chicago, New York, Detroit, Philadelphia, where these migrants are being bussed into the interior. We've seen these human trafficking networks, essentially, where you've got these secret flights and buses and whatnot that are, you know, we've seen the illegals in airports with the piece of paper pinned to their chest to get them on free without any identification onto U.S. commercial airlines. You know, so, you know, this has been a big issue. We've seen it part and piece, but all of this is starting to come together, right? The threads of all these stories are starting to come together. And then just this past week, we identified that Azerbaijani terrorist who says, what did he say, Joe? He said, you'll know me soon, or you'll find out who I am soon.
Everyone will know my name. He said, everyone will know my name.
So, I mean, you know, it's going to be like when this guy turns into the next, you're muted, Joe.
I've talked to a lot of folks who know, and no one can put that guy anywhere else. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
Someone just made a comment. I want to point this out because I was thinking of it earlier. Somewhere else, I don't know if it's the federal papers or where it is, invasion is specifically mentioned, and it goes on to say whether armed or not. And so someone in the comments just said that these are civilians. It's not a military invasion. It doesn't have to be a military invasion.
Yeah,
it's covered, whether armed or not.
Pancho Villa actually comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
Pancho Villa was not a state actor. He was a bandit who raided Arizona, and we went after him, repelled his invasion.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Anyway, so I thought so these are the states where the governors signed this letter, and I believe it was 25 states or is it 24 states? I can't remember. Anyway, so maybe
25 on the thing.
So we got let's see, Governor Ivey from Alabama, Governor Dulevy from Alaska, Governor Sanders from Arkansas, Governor DeSantis from Florida, Governor Kemp from Georgia, Governor Little from Idaho, Governor Holcomb from Indiana, Governor Reynolds from Iowa, Governor Landry from Louisiana, Governor Reeves from Mississippi, Governor Parson from Missouri, Governor Gianforte from, is that how you say his name? How do you say the Montana governor? Is it Gianforte?
Let's go Gianforte.
Yeah,
Greg
from
Gianforte.
Montana. Pillin from any what's any again? I forgot that one. What's any? What state is any? Nebraska, thank you. All right. Lombardo from Nevada, Sununu from New Hampshire, deep state fuck. Burgum from North Dakota, DeWine from Ohio, Stitt from Oklahoma, McMaster from South Carolina, Noam from South Dakota, Lee from Tennessee, Cox from Utah, Youngkin from Virginia, Justice from West Virginia, and Gordon from Wyoming. My home state of Kentucky is absent from this list, but that doesn't surprise me. We have a communist for a governor.
I feel some of these may have been added prematurely when you said Utah there, because I'm pretty sure all Utah said was thank you for doing it. They didn't actually say, hey, we're going to lend any kind of support whatsoever.
These are signatories to this letter. He signed
the letter.
Okay.
He signed the letter, Watcher. There is currently a bill in the legislature to force him to actually activate the guard and use it. But at the same time, he signs this letter. He also is sending buses into SLC airport every night to pick up migrants that he is allowing into the state. So,
migrants,
talk out both sides.
Illegal aliens. Stop using the language of the left.
Yeah, they're not migrants.
No one is illegal.
Yeah, so that's 25. That's 25 governors that are on this. Let's be honest. This is what was it 48 hours that we've been watching this clock. This is actually a fairly good response, I think. There's some states I'm pretty disappointed that we're not seeing them on here. It's sad Texas hasn't even signed on this. Oh, wait a second. I'm just kidding. But
we didn't make the map.
We're just poking fun at our buddies over there at Knightsbridge. I already told them I think they should add Texas, maybe as a different color. But anyway,
President Trump or candidate for President Trump called it out correctly. He said, "All right, you all signed the letter. Great. Now send some of your National Guard folks down there to put your money where your mouth is." And a lot of these in the social media comments individually by these governors, we stand with Texas. We sent guys down, last year or 2 years ago or whatever. But send them now. Send them now. Give the Texas National Guard guys a little, respite from, laying all that razor wire. They probably cut themselves once or twice, but.
All right, I'm gonna take a pause here, guys, because I've got a couple super chats here in the over here on Rumble I want to get through. All right, all right, first one is Wind 818, $2 super chat. What's the current count of states giving aid and comfort to Texas? So there are. Here's the interesting thing. There are two kind of categories. There's the categories of states like these 25 that we just read that have actually, the governors have signed the letter. And then you've got states like Kentucky, for instance, that are donating forces to the Operation Lone Star. That's the ongoing Southwest Border Mission National Guard. I think it's a Title 32 mission. That's going on along the Texas border. A lot of those soldiers are in the role as administrative support and other kind of logistical support versus guards on the actual border. So there's kind of two flavors of support, I think. You guys got any other kind of thoughts on the various ways states are supporting Texas?
Mostly with
I think a lot of them are waiting to see what happens. I think some people are waiting to see where this is going to go, and that's the problem that we have in the country. Nobody wants to be the first guy. Well, Abbott stepped up. He's being kind of the first guy. Let's see if he's willing to take this to the mat. That's the real question, because he started this game. If he backs down at this point, it'll be very, very bad for him to back down. So he's got to take it to the mat, and it depends on how far Biden's willing to take it too. We read and see a lot of really stupid comments online about using the military and hitting them with rockets and all this other stuff. It's going to be interesting to see who blinks first, because that's where we're at in this. This is a pivotal moment. I don't think really people grasp the gravity of what's going on over there.
Yeah, Ron doesn't want to say it out loud, but I do want to add a point of clarification. He didn't step up. He rolled up.
Yeah, true. Yes.
So look, in the world of bowing down, this has been going on in some fashion for, it depends on when you want to count it, either a couple of weeks or a couple of months or a couple of years, during which it has been progressively escalating. The off-ramps were many between any of the starting points and now, and they would have been much easier, and you would have lost a lot less face. Right. Because at this point, between a clip that I will not showbiz Scott on, but hopefully just provide him a good intro from Ken Paxton, and that letter that is the biggest middle finger from a state to the federal government, at least in my lifetime, backing down now, you've got all the federal attention, you've got or all the national attention, you've definitely got all the federal attention, and let's not forget, outside of various petroleum-based interests that are going on here, it's also an election year, and Trump hasn't picked a VP. There's a simple reality that Abbott's wanted to be a VP or a president forever, and whoever Trump's VP is probably going to get walked into the White House for at least one term in a very George Bush Sr.
or rolled
fashion.
Into the White House.
Exactly. And Abbott was nothing special 2 months ago. Nobody cared. In fact, generally speaking, we were all talking shit about this guy and him being a giant pussy. And today, whether or not the only people left to talk about how he's a giant pussy are the doomers who just think nothing is going to happen. Right. So there's a lot on the line for Abbott at this point, and it's not a particularly great time for him to go, yeah, you know what, let's fold.
Yeah, I listen, I would be remiss of my duties if I did not highlight the following as having one chat for the day. Polar Bear 420, take a bow. That's just the punnage.
That is a good pun, actually.
So yeah, absolutely. That's we got another super chat. I want to get
show
here.
My support for Texas. I went to Chili's last night and had fajitas. So,
well, did you see the very serious Twitter account that said that AOC is calling for a boycott of Texas Roadhouse?
Texas Roadhouse, based in Idaho. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
I thought the headquarters was in Louisville.
No, I don't think so. That was the other one, Logan's, I think.
Is it Logan's? I don't know. Anyway,
that's real. I thought that was a joke.
It's a joke. Yeah. That's why I said a very serious.
Oh, okay.
So
I was like, when I saw that, I thought it was like the bee, the onion,
Ron,
the Babylon bee.
I'm not going to cover for you this time. I want you to actually ask that one because I think it's on everybody's mind.
My last question there in the private chat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
actually, can you push pause on that because
of course I can do anything you want. You're the master host.
Well, it's a great segue into our second segment, and I want to just do a little business here. I want to finish these super chats, and we have a milestone to kind of acknowledge too before we go forward. Pinochet's helicopter tours for $5 says everything from COVID to 2020, January 6th to the border was a setup to take away sovereignty from the American people. Those NGOs and every employee should be treated no different than an active shooter.
What?
All right, guys, thoughts on that? I mean, this is Pinochet wants to take people on helicopter tours, so I don't blame. He's staying with the meme, I guess.
I think that super chat is an excellent segue into the thing that I brought up before the show that's been unofficially in our notes, and this here's a good image to put up while we discuss it. As I said, if you were following me on Twitter before the events of January 6th, do not go to Texas. Do not.
And don't listen to Ray Epps when you get there.
Yeah. Unless he's talking about going across the border south into Mexico.
But no, you gotta wonder. You gotta wonder who Ray Epps version 2.0 is going to be because they're going to stand up some sort of.
Wait, hold on. We've got to go in. We have to go into the Tijuana bar. We have to go in. Get in there.
We have to shut down the donkey show. We have to shut down.
I think that's Las Cruces or maybe
Laredo.
Yeah, Laredo or.
But we might as well just keep on going to Cabo. I mean, what the heck?
But,
I saw
listen.
a thing that said that Mexico.
Go ahead, Joe.
Mexico protested this whole thing, right? So Texas is wrong. That's real funny until a group of us go down and level Nuevo Laredo or somewhere, right?
Well, listen, I want to address
Juarez actually deserves to be leveled.
I want to address that super chat with something in the super chat. Hey, you know how we started that by saying that literally almost every one of the major events that have been in the news for the last 5 to 6 years have all been majorly psyoped and have been specifically engineered in order to allow them to further their agenda. Let us all be cautious walking into what feels like a natural solution and reaction to a problem we have all been goaded into by these exact same organizations.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to add something to that for anybody that's motivated all of a sudden to go down and get your piece of the action. I go down to Texas, run classes down there at least once a year, every year. Have been doing so for the past 5 years. Look, they got it. Okay, they got it squared away. You worry about you wherever it is you're located. You worry about you. You worry about your place.
All right.
I mean,
let me just break in. I guess I'm gonna
yeah,
stay where I am in Texas then.
there you go. See, you're there. You got it covered, man. Like,
Well,
stay where you're at. There's something I want to add to that though, it dovetails that it's a separate conversation, sort of, but it dovetails it. There's a lot of people that are saying, this situation has parallels with the Bundy Ranch. No, it doesn't. Not at all. It's nothing like that. You're talking about a standoff with citizens, right? And a question over private property, and then leasing public property for private enterprise, which was the heart of the question there. And there was government corruption that was going on with Uranium One that, we found out later on, and the whole story. I mean,
No.
I could talk to Ammon Bundy about it, and we could have the whole thing. Here's the deal, though.
I'm the one who brought it up, and I didn't bring it up in it is the cause and thing that is the thing. I am saying that they would like to create that with a citizen standoff.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that for sure. But here's the thing, and this is for the people that think that there's like a direct parallel between the conflict with the states. It's not. This is a constitutional issue. Okay, this is forcing a constitutional issue. And again, I went into this in depth last night. How the Militia Act of 1903 is very likely to be the legal framework that comes into question. And if there is a case, and I think that there's a very strong likelihood that there will be, that gets taken to the Supreme Court, the Militia Act of 1903 is going to be what's in question, because that spelled out explicitly. It created the powers of the federal government over the state militias, which became the National Guard, and it defined those and what those are. Well, that very premise is in conflict with the Second Amendment and the 10th Amendment, and probably a few others too, but I know that it explicitly is in conflict with those two. So, it's going to cause a big second and third order effect. This is way, way bigger than the Bundy Ranch, way, way bigger than any of that. And I saw somebody else this morning say, well, how are they going to Waco their way out of this? I think it was Max Morton that puts up something about that, which I really enjoy his opinion as well on I think he's spot on pretty much everything. Dude's brilliant. But I don't even think they can do that. So that's what's known as a superordinate goal, something that is designed to coalesce people. They attempted to do this with Ukraine. Obviously, we know how that panned out. Whatever the quote unquote current thing is, that's why you're seeing the Biden administration use very polarizing language, because they know that we're past that.
All right. So before we get into superordinate goals, you're actually right, because that's the whole next segment here. Let me get these super chats, because we've got 220s that have popped up, and I want to make sure we get those, and then we'll jump in. We'll use Ron's quote as his comment as a segue into that. Peter Shays Helicopter Tours for 5 says, you can pretend to take the high road all you want, but the NGOs have non-elected officials have chosen to risk their own lives. Justice isn't only found in the court. She carries a sword for a reason. It is what it is right there. Captain Corgi for $20 says, I hate to be jaded, but I honestly wonder if this is just election season politics, that they want to make the border an election issue and force Biden into being seen as holding the border open. I mean, I don't think that that's off the table, but guys, what do you think? Is there more to it than election season politics, or is there a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B?
There's never a straight answer like that in politics, right? Like there are always contributing factors. Like there's contributing factors when I go to the store, right? Like, oh, it's 5 p.m. on a Monday. Let's not go to the store at the worst possible time of the week. But somehow we want to act like major political decisions that affect every single thing in the whole country. Like, what? That happened for one reason. Probably not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the old adage, never let a good crisis go to waste. And, both sides are doing it. The Biden administration, as soon as this kicked off, their first question was, how can we use this to our advantage? Like their first question, that was their first thought,
Oh, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got another one. So that was Captain Corgi. So let me go to Peter States Helicopter Tours for $2. Says 25 states protecting Americans from 22 million voters snuffing out their voice. That's why states moved on the border to punch the Senate. I mean, it's. I don't know. I think it's like I said. I think that kind of gets to that election season versus something more. Of course, we got a lot of Bucky supporters here in the chat. Joe, there was a good Bucky's meme, by the way, that I saw.
Hold on. I belong to the Bucky's tactical response team. Have the patch. We're ready to go. Don't besmirch the Buckies.
All right. Hey, far be it from me.
Joe, I'm gonna have to see your plate carrier because you have more morale patches. I swear to God, do you wear like the little breechcloth attachment, flopping around your crotch and like the shoulder pads so you can. I mean,
just so you'll look at whatever patch I have down there, Ron.
That's where he keeps the tactical wisdom patch.
That's where he keeps the tactical wisdom.
Yeah, aim
in
low.
the codpiece.
Guys, I gotta jump out of here.
Years, my goodness,
Matt, I gotta jump out. It's been great talking with you this morning. Everybody in the comments sections, all the listeners out there. Hey, don't get black-pilled. Get out there, do something positive. It's gonna be an awesome weekend.
Yeah, you real quick. Do you want to promo anything? I know you've been a big proponent of bringing people together through your training classes and just the brotherhood that you have out there at the G Camp. Anything you want to?
Absolutely.
Promo?
Yeah, brushbeater.store / training courses. You'll see, everything that's open enrollment is going to be up there right now. Got a lot of equipment in. Yeah, I am a full stocking night vision and thermal dealer. I'm going to have a whole bunch of thermal. It's on the way. It's coming right after SHOT Show. So a lot of stuff has that little sold out on it. You can sign up for notifications. Going to be coming in. Some of the products have been a lot hotter than I anticipated to. So, if something sells out, it'll be back in stock here pretty quick. Whenever you see the screen kind of light up a little bit when I'm doing stuff in the background, that's I'm putting together shipments of different stuff that's coming in. And right now I've got bulk freeze-dried stored food because y'all asked for it. Right. The clientele asked for it. You wanted, bulk stuff, number 10 cans. And I am working with a company out of Georgia, which is a pretty sizable company in the freeze
Union
dry.
County.
That's
Union
right.
County.
That's right.
You know exactly who that is.
Oh yeah, man, and we have struck up a friendship and a great business partnership, and so you're going to be seeing a lot of the bulk freeze dried storable food, as well as Peak Refuel, which is they make just great meals that are freeze dried. So
the
good
biscuits
stuff
and gravy is the stuff.
Yeah, night vision, thermal. Some of the best thermal systems that are available to civilians on the market, bar none. I have AGM, Trigicon. I've got some stuff from IRA that'll be coming. But the stuff from AGM seriously punches way above its weight class. Anyway, I could talk all day about that. I'm not going to do it. Y'all got business to attend to, and so do I. But God bless y'all. Stay safe. Keep your heads on straight, folks. We're going to make it. Get out there. Get that sunshine. All right. Do something positive.
I need to come visit the Partisan Quartermaster's storehouse. And
yes, you do.
Walk through there.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Matt,
Yes,
we appreciate any time you got for us, and maybe if you got a morning down the road again here, we actually schedule you on and put some topics up in front of you that want to help us work through.
I was wanting to talk to you, and I'm just going to do it in public here. I'm going to put you on the spot. I want to have you and Blaine Pardo. When I was doing some work yesterday, and it just hit me. I want you and Blaine Pardo. We need to do a culture war show. We talked about 100%. It sometime back, and we really, really need to make that happen. I was tossing that idea around in my head, and it was entertaining to me as I was working. I was like, man, this is going to be killer, dude.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in that space. And, us manly men, we like to talk about guns and all this stuff, but there's a lot of stuff out there that that people are dealing with in the culture space. And we always joke about liking 40K and all these other, we all watched G.I. Joe when we were kids. These kind of things that we grew up as cultural touchstones, we're losing them. And our kids are losing those, so it's important to talk about. All right, brother, we'll make it happen.
All right,
take care, brother.
Talk to y'all soon.
Later, brother.
All right, hey, let's one more super chat and then we'll jump into segment 2. Jim Satala for 20 says they removed the Thomas Jefferson statue from NYC Hall 4 hours ago. We are witnessing the Marxist revolution and nobody is doing anything about it. Biden ignored South Carolina about loans, yet crickets from the media. Any thoughts on that, guys? Supreme Court, ignored Supreme Court about loans.
Yes, that's happening. I don't know that on the day that the whole show is about pushing back against the federal government, no one is doing anything about it. I know how the internet is. You didn't overtly say on this specific issue, the specific thing that I individually wanted, even though there's 100 million people on Twitter. And therefore, since you didn't appease all of us, you're a bunch of cucks. Well, sad news. That's not actually how this works. You don't seriously, which one of you actually wants a governor or an AG to be the Spurg that half of the freaking internet is, right? Like every single day, all that is happening all day, this guy who is definitely pushing back, right, is on Twitter going like, oh my God, I can't believe I, as the AG of Alabama, have to sit here and watch them take down the statue of Jefferson. What good is that actually doing, right? And I know it's very satisfying. It feels good. You want to touch yourself to that kind of moment. But other than that, who gives a shit?
The sad thing is, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too far, but the sad thing is when it comes to these state and local governments and their statues, they can do whatever the hell they want. This is, but this should tell you what your local government is, right? This is the mask coming off. Now, if you want to talk about the Civil War, the Confederate monument at the Civil War on Arlington, that's a different story. That's the federal government. I think that's completely inappropriate. But I mean, so it's kind of a sticky wicket, right? I believe in the 10th Amendment and the whole, these 50 laboratories of the Constitution in America, and they can, as long as they follow the rules, they can kind of go as bad as they want because, like I said, that shows you where you live and people will vote where their feet. But I mean, that's just, it's not what you'd call a hardcore take, but it's I think it's the one that I think is consistent. All right. Like I said, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole today, though. But I think you're right. I think there's a lot going on.
Angry, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you. I was just saying, Sniper raised his hand in the private chat there. Let's give him a shot.
Yeah, Sniper. Yeah. I'm sorry. I've been looking at the other chat. Sorry.
Yeah, on the political side, I find that I have reached a point of concern. I saw a piece of this theory last night, and I've been thinking on it and percolating it, and I want to throw this at the group. If this is a psyop, so to speak, for election year stuff, because we all think that Biden's not going to be the guy. Is what?
Go ahead. We lost you for a second and you popped back in.
Okay, well, it would be if this is for political season, is to A, get rid of Biden because we all think it's not going to be Biden, and B, to try and take the last 3 years of what they've done and change the narrative to shove it down Republican throats.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I don't know
they're
what
already
anybody
doing
thinks about that.
They're already doing that, right? You know, who was that moron last night that was like, "Oh, the border crisis is the GOP's fault because they won't approve us sending another $100 billion to Ukraine." Right? I mean, that's not exactly what he said, but it was, this bill that every Republican knows is going to send $100 billion to Ukraine. The Republicans are not voting yes on. Okay.
Wow. Right. I think that's a good point. Okay, hey, so we have gotten to the end of the current super chats. Good, that way we're all paid up. The one thing I wanted to say, if you are one of the over 700 people watching, 700 is a new milestone number. We had at one time we had 715 people just on Rumble alone. Right now we're looking at 684 on Rumble, and then looking at about 90 or so on the other platforms combined. That's including Angry's folks as well. So that's a huge number for us. That is very, the fact that you guys trust us to listen to what we have to say about this, that says a lot. Thank you very much. How can you help? You can help by liking the video, and you can help by subscribing to the channel if you haven't done it already. That's a big help. I know it pushes us on Rumble. And by the way, speaking of being pushed on Rumble, we are on the front page of the live section on Rumble right now as well. So that's a big honor. Thank you guys for putting us there. All right. Last thing I want to talk about in the show today, guys, is okay. So Texas makes a stand. The federal government doesn't want it. There's a 24-hour. Let's see. I think our first one here is so this is
Matt Shin back on duty there. Good morning, Matt.
Yeah. Listen to this.
Good morning, Bill. As it stands right now, you might be able to make out behind me, Texas's razor wire is still here inside of Shelby Park. It remains untouched. However, the Biden administration has now warned Texas it has until tomorrow to allow Biden's border agents back into Shelby Park and the ability to remove Texas's razor wire as it sees fit. A federal attorney writes to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Biden administration, ending a temporary restraining order that prohibited Biden's border agents from touching Texas razor wire in and around Shelby Park. The
Quick
that's
pause
there. No, that's actually a pretty good spot to pause. What do you guys think? Here, when my response to this on Twitter when I saw this was to retweet it and say, "Or what?"
Yeah, well, so that's the question, right? And here's the problem: is that there's not. Texas isn't doing anything in violation of a Supreme Court order because they weren't ordered to do anything.
Exactly.
And so whatever that or what is going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, all they did was lift the stay on the feds from removing it. They didn't issue one against Texas to stop putting it up because they can't. And
exactly.
So now it comes down to, again, Biden told them they got 24 hours to get out of the way, and the question, like I said earlier, comes down to or what,
Well, that was yesterday. The 24 hours is today.
Yeah, it's up today. Yeah.
Yes.
It's in 3 hours now, something like that.
Well, so it brings a good question. So let's put out a couple scenarios, folks. So Biden orders Mayorkas to send the Border Patrol dudes down there to say, hey, we're here, with the authority of the Supreme Court, or however they want to phrase it. Well, that's what Mayorkas is going to order him to do, but we already know that the rank and file of the Border Patrol support the actions of Texas. So are we going to see a repeat of what, for those of us that are really old, okay, that would just be me, I guess. Remember when the Shah of Iran's guards, instead of firing into the crowd of Iranians before the Khomeini revolution, joined the people of Iran and helped overthrow the Shah.
Yeah.
That's one thing. So, or does Biden and Mayorkas and the rest of the administration realize that they can't trust the Border Patrol to carry this out, and they're going to send the FBI guys down? and that will become a real shit show because there'll be some fat doofus FBI person that's a DEI hire that's going to pull his weapon because he feels, his proper pronoun wasn't used, and it's gonna cause a ruckus. And so there's not a good solution here, a peaceful out for this. I mean, basically, this is like, what is it? I don't play a lot of poker. What is this, like Texas Hold'em, where like I'm calling you, and unfortunately the federal government doesn't have any money to raise the pot, or any oomph to raise the pot. But Scott, what I'd said earlier, and you wanted me to pause, was, so I asked all the guys in the chat, and I'll ask the audience folks. So where do you think we are now? Are we at the compromise of 1850 stage of the crisis? Because it is a crisis. It is a constitutional crisis, as Matt very eloquently pointed out. Or are we at the bloody Kansas stage, the just before all that? Or are we at the Fort Sumter stage? And remember, if you recall your history, that the buildup to the Civil War, I mean, Fort Sumter just didn't happen blink. I mean, there was a long, tedious, violent buildup to the actual first battle of Bull Run or Manassas, depending on who your history teacher was. So I'm just going to point that out there. Anyways, I throw it out to the chat.
Yeah,
and turn it back over to the host.
Ron, it's funny how with the hand that he's dealt, it's essentially now up to the federal government to decide where we're at, right? I mean, they can go hard in the paint, and if we do, then we're at Fort Sumter, right? Or they could be kind of like, they can slow play it, or they can, do something that's a little passive aggressive, and then we're more at, that kind of 1850s kind of situation where it just kind of pisses people off and gets them to do things, right? So that's kind of my take.
Don, you go first.
Don first. Don, go ahead.
So I am, to Ron's question directly, I think he mentioned all of the things that make us prepped for bloody Kansas. Your DEI hire, diversity moron that weighs 900 pounds, that feels threatened because words are violence, pulls their gun, and the moment that somebody pulls a gun, tensions explode. And at that point, it will take one loud noise, and that's it. It's on.
Yeah, it'd be more than tensions exploding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Ron, everybody's going to tend to want to draw their line at a different spot, and in this situation, the reality is we don't actually know. But if I had to guess, I'm going to put it in more of a Revolutionary War context, in that J6 is the Boston Massacre, and this is the lead up to Concord Bridge, Lexington and Concord.
I think that I can see that, but I don't think that the drive behind it is the same, unless the Marxists are the actual revolutionaries. You know what I mean?
I don't know. The link to Concord, I think, is pretty accurate, because it's going to be the feds standing there looking at the Texas DPS folks, and there could be that shot that no one knows where it comes from that starts this thing, which could be very intentional, because we know how these things are played. So I think that's a very appropriate analogy. That's literally where we're at. They're going to be nose to nose here soon, because Biden's going to have to send somebody down there. And as we've seen across the world, we're not above shooting into crowds to initiate activities.
No, that's a good point. I mean, if the friendly neighborhood CBP guys show up with Bortac standing behind them, and all of a sudden somebody from a dusty knoll 100 meters away decides to shoot at the Bortac guys, and then they shoot back at the National Guard guys, then I mean, absolutely, that could be. By the way, these National Guard guys that are sitting there putting up this wire that we see a lot, they're not packing, they're not armed. They may have weapons there, but they're not carrying weapons and if they are, if it's based on the same ROE that we had with the Southwest Border Operation back in 2018, 2019, it's all like weapon no mag, right?
There's a couple of shots of them with weapons and mags, but it is almost exclusively the guys with shields and that sort of thing standing.
Yeah, MPs are the only
directly in
people who
front.
were
Yeah.
armed. MPs are the only people who were armed on the border before.
Or another scenario is Biden can avoid a direct confrontation on the border and send agents into Austin and arrest Abbott and Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, and other government officials to come up with some reason. But
well, that starts a civil war immediately. I mean, that starts a civil war. That's worse than starting shooting, in my opinion.
Well,
you roll MRAPs on the state capitol and it's done.
Well, I've also got a bigger issue and a bigger concern is that they need something rather spectacular to draw attention away from the Texas thing. So I would be watching for something to happen somewhere else that is so big and spectacular that you forget all about Texas.
It's not an unrealistic concern.
Well, I mean, and we've got plenty of foreign nationals to pin the false flag on, right?
Well, the Houthis could get lucky and sink a large cargo vessel. And
are you talking about that new band, Hootie and the Blow Ships? Yeah,
the blow ships.
You got leave it to the Marine to think it's open mic night Friday. Yep.
Speaking of foreign nationals, let's look at what Mexico thinks about Governor Abbott's his political stunt.
I think that John just called me a hoe in the chat. By the way, Alpha Charlie Concepts. You just called me hoe. It's cold, bro.
Damn,
cool, bro.
Anyway, this is the Mexican foreign ministry or foreign minister. Mexico condemns any expression that encourages violent acts and the dehumanization of the migrant community. We demand respect for their human rights and denounce all aggressive insinuations against a person's life. My question is this, guys: what violent acts has Abbott, had an expression of or encouraged?
So this is that leftist thing of if you call something violent, it justifies violent action in opposition to it.
Yes.
They just have to call it that.
Chance, I have to bounce. I am sorry to do this, but I've got to go to the place with the people and do some things today. So I got to.
No, we appreciate you. We appreciate the time you've been able to give us. Anything you want to promote before you take off?
We've got some events coming up in Kentucky. You can hit the website and see those. We'll be at a couple prepper events up in Kentucky in March. Like I said, I'm going to the Capitol, the Florida Capitol on the 8th. I will be up there talking with some of the leaders up there. So folks that follow me, if you live in Florida, there's a post on my Facebook page about it. If you got questions you want me to directly ask them, post them up and I'll do what I can to put them in front of them on camera. So we'll see how they react. It's a friendly visit, but nonetheless, I think, that we need to hold their feet to the fire whenever we can. So,
hey, send me, email me or DM me a list of those events.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'll shoot it to you, man. I'll get it to you this afternoon.
All right.
All right. You guys be good.
Appreciate
be good
it.
at
Thank
it.
you.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you, brother.
And thanks for having me too. Thanks for letting me on this morning.
You always got a seat here.
If I can get time, that's my thing. So you guys,
I hear you, man.
And thanks to everybody watching out there. Those are amazing numbers for the show. That's fantastic. Love seeing it. So I'll catch you guys on the other side.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
See you.
All right, and I'm gonna jump as well because it's getting ready to get serious here at work. But I want to say this was a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody being chill with me coming back around. And Joe, is the class full, or can I shill for your class?
My class is not full. It is over half full, but it is not full.
So yes. At the end of April, beginning of May, I will be in Montana. Yeah, your part of it is the 3rd through the 5th thing. Doesn't NC Scout does something right before it? And if you ever wanted a chance to come shake my hand or whatever, I'm going to be up there. Don's going to be up there. Joe's going to be up there. Let's make it into a really fun thing. And with that, I will see you guys later.
All right, brother. Thanks for your contribution. And as Sniper goes and Angry goes, Heather, 2 Fridays in a row. We're doing something right here to get a Heather sighting.
Well,
Fridays.
it looks to me like you were harassing her online to force her to get in here. But
Not true, not true. I committed last week to come regularly, but it's hard with the kids, man.
I hear you. It's early, and you know those things that you have to do in the morning. You only have to do them in the morning, so it's kind of like you gotta do business, right?
Yeah. How are you guys?
We're good. We're talking about the we're trying to figure out if we're at a Burning Kansas or a Fort Sumter or a Lexington Concord kind of situation here with Texas. So that's kind of where we're at.
I would say bleeding Kansas myself.
Yeah. That's the one that kind of stuck in my head when I was thinking of these analogies. Though I do understand and I agree that there are some parallels with the Lexington Bridge kind of situation. Heather, without kind of going too far into depth, what's your kind of general take on this whole business? We've been talking about this pretty much all morning. I'm going to get you on the scoreboard on this. What do you think?
So I mean, for me, it's about, you guys know me, right? Like it's about the Constitution. What does the Constitution say about this? Biden is the one that's violating law right now. So there's a difference. And I think the distinguishment needs to be made. Like there's a huge difference between executive edict and law. So the law on the books right now, so section 1225B1B4 of the Constitution states, any alien subject to the procedures shall be detained pending a final determination of credible fear of persecution. None of these people are being detained. They're being released on their own recognizance. So
it's like a parole, like a general parole, basically.
Right.
With a promise that they'll come back.
Right. The problem is that the accusation that Texas as a state doesn't have border enforcement authority is completely incorrect and inaccurate. So if the federal government is not going to enforce it, then Governor Abbott, by law, has to. Like he is in compliance right now. He's invoking U.S. v. Arizona, where Scalia made his comments. Like this whole situation is tedious, I guess. And really, honestly, Biden is in the worst position he could possibly be in right now. He has two choices. He can either go try to exert authority to continue to let illegal migrants in, and then you're running on a campaign and a platform where you're telling the American citizens that you're valuing illegals over your own country. And then your opposition side of that is you do nothing, and then your own political party thinks you look weak and they don't vote for you. He's in the worst position possible right now.
So, worth noting that Scalia made his comments in U.S. v. Arizona in dissent.
He actually made it in dissent and in favor. It concurred in part of it and dissented in part of it, because it was like a multifaceted decision. But yes, you're right, Don.
In standard Scalia fashion, really.
Yeah.
Look, man, if you read Supreme Court opinions, one, you should read Scalia's because they're the most fun opinions to read outside of Thomas being pissed off in dissent. And two, Scalia handles almost every idea that he ever touches with serious care. And so even when he's in dissent, he basically always concurs on something unless it's just egregiously wrong. But the problem is that, in the end, the outcome of US v. Arizona was that the feds get to determine, the immigration policy. But this is also piggybacking off of the Dreamers, right? Because much as, rightly, hey, they have to be detained until they have a hearing. The answer that we accepted nationally, whether we liked it or not, including in the Supreme Court, was, judicial discretion. You can't make every single person who breaks a law go to prison. You can't make every single person who breaks a law so much as get a ticket. And so that it's just sort of inferred in all of this that when they parole these guys that but we already told you judicial discretion, there's nothing we can do about it, right? We have decided discretionarily that these people will show back up, and no, we don't have to prove it. We just get to say it. And that's how it works.
Well, and I think too, and I'm just going to chime in here real fast. A lot of people are saying, that he's violating the Supreme Court decision that just came out. Well, no, he's not. The Supreme Court did not direct Texas to do anything. It merely stated that the federal government has the right to remove the barriers. Texas can still continue to put the barriers up as much as they want to.
Yeah.
There's been no directive or no direction given to the state of Texas. It only vacated the limitation on the federal government.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let me kind of point us in a different direction here. I want to.
What, we're going to Oklahoma now? Cool.
No. Well, I want to. Watcher, I'm gonna skip a couple of the links that we have. So in the just to kind of for time, I want to do the Warpath tweet. If you will, because this kind of, we talked about the Republican governors showing support for, these measures, but I want to show some of the kind of the rhetoric that's coming out of the left. And of course, the early movers in the left tend to be the dumbest and the worst takes. There's a lot of tankies out there that are kind of jumping in. This is that Mario Nafal tweet that on the that's the one right there. All right, so this is breaking. Democrats demand Biden take control of Texas National Guard. And so this is Joaquin Castro. This is the guy from California, right? Governor Greg Abbott is using the Texas National Guard to obstruct and create chaos at the border. If Abbott is defying yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, by the way, he's not, POTUS needs to establish sole federal control of the Texas National Guard now. Now, that being said, if he were to actually block the feds' access to going in and removing, that would be, from what I understand, the letter of the law, or the letter of the, following how the Supreme Court came down on that last week.
So that would depend very much on how he did it, right? Welcome to legal games, right? So if he just sends the National Guard out there and goes, you can't cut the wire, then now we get into an argument about whether or not they're allowed to cut the wire, which the standing order says that they are, right? From the lower court. On the other hand, if what he says is Texas thinks this is a place of emergency and all employees of the federal government and everybody else for that matter are trespassed from the roads around this place, hey, I'm not saying you can't cut the wire. You just can't stand there, right? And so it's gamesmanship, but it is the kind of gamesmanship that has run this country for my whole life.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. This second one here, I agree with Castro. If Abbott is defying yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, the POTUS needs to establish sole federal control of the Texas National Guard. And we talked about that a little bit on Wednesday, the problems that come in when you decide to federalize entire swaths of the National Guard. The problem with that is you have to pay them. And if that's it, and Congress has to actually authorize money for that federalization beforehand. And I don't know that this current Congress is going to agree with that.
Scott, the other thing that's important to note here is how they are framing this whole crisis is, as Heather pointed out, Texas is not violating anything. Abbott is not violating, but they continue to harp on that Texas is violating the Supreme Court order, like somehow Texas is a renegade state led by a renegade governor. And so we have to push back on that narrative, because they still continue to push the January 6th as an insurrection narrative, and people still believe that. And we see it here again, that these people are pushing this narrative. So and that's what people, these low information voters, Gesundheit,
Thank you.
that's all they're gonna hear. And so, and the other thing I think is that just federalizing a state's National Guard, like that's going to solve all problems. Like all the people will just say, "Oh, sorry, I no longer work for the governor of Texas. He's no longer my state commander in chief." Yeah, that's not going to happen, because you all live in Texas. You National Guardsmen, you're going to have to go home to your wives and neighbors and friends and husbands and that sort of thing. So
that goes to a thing that's super popular on the internet. That, considering this panel, I hope there will be plenty enough support for this point. If you are in the military, which seemingly is only one position that is in the military, right? When you are given an order, you just follow it all of the time, no matter what.
Said the Nuremberg defense.
You know what I mean? Like, but this,
unless it's illegal,
you can't. So, have we all ordered a PFC to do something a PFC didn't want to do? Did you ever get what you asked for?
Well, as a veteran, I just want to say,
don't start with that. Oh my God.
Sorry. I couldn't resist. It was right there. I couldn't help myself.
Oh. Sometimes internet names actually translate to live videos. So,
but yes, we've all given, I don't want to say illegal orders, but probably improper orders, or but nothing immoral or illegal. And if you were a active duty or reservist or National Guardsman, and you follow, I mean, you've got a frickin' brain, person, and use it. And if you like, hey, I don't really think I want to go down there and do this, and like, yeah, you don't. Yeah, you might have to pay the price. I mean, look at all those guys that got involuntarily discharged from the military because they refused to take a shot. That's not a good thing. I mean, the shot, not getting discharged. So I mean, they follow their conscience, and you can't use the Nuremberg defense as I was only following orders, because that'll get you lined up against the wall quicker than not.
Yeah. Well, I feel for these guys, because let's face it, if you follow the order to federalize and unironically betray your country, that's not going to go well for you in general life. On the other hand, if you don't, there's a decent possibility that, as malicious as DC is, they try and federalize you, which means you're under UCMJ, which means they can try you for unlawful orders and or treason under the UCMJ as opposed to in a court. I mean, it's not going to be great no matter how it plays out if we go down the federalizing the National Guard route. That said, everybody thinks this is some like giant panacea for Biden, man. It's just not. There's hard limits on, I can just federalize the National Guard whenever
the Adjutant
I want.
General of the Texas Guard or any state guard can say, I refuse to accept these orders. They are illegal. I work for the governor of my state. And and come, I'm not going to recognize your authority. Yeah, you got UCMJ authority, but you got to come in and enforce it. So, and who's going to come in and enforce it?
Yeah.
So
this is playing chicken on a
big time
1862 kind of scale.
Real quick, I got a super chat here. Pinochet's helicopters. He says, "I'm from Massachusetts. Revolution started in my home city of Worcestershire, September 6, 1774, when 4,500 militia kicked out the Brits over the Intolerable Acts. Brits went to Concord to seize power to retake Worcestershire. Any thoughts on
It's
that,
Worcester
guys?
sauce, Scott. It's Worcester
I know,
sauce.
whatever. I'm from Kentucky, man. I'm not that smart.
I don't give a shit
School
either.
all the way.
Yeah. Pinochet parked his helicopter in the car by the yacht and all that sort of stuff too. Yeah, I got it.
All I can say is I'm just glad I'm not from Southern Indiana.
Hey now.
Oh, that's cold.
Shots fired.
Wow. Wow.
She's not even listening.
Sorry. I know.
I said hey now. It's not cool.
Well, you know, it's all in good fun. All right. So here, this Ken Paxton quote I thought went pretty hard. This is the next one there, Watcher. I think that like I said, I excised a couple of the links just to kind of for brevity. I wanted to get your guys' take on this. Ken Paxton, unlike the governor, Ken Paxton has been pretty damn good on a lot of things. This is one of the reasons why he's been, basically the left has done everything they can to kind of kick him to the curb.
Yeah.
And so when the left is after you, then you're that's that flack over the target kind of thing. And Ken Paxton's been pretty strong on a lot of this stuff. I lived in Texas for a little bit during COVID, so I appreciated a lot of the kind of things that were coming out. So let's give this a listen. It's about a minute, just to kind of prep it. He's basically talking about that the U.S. government partnering with the cartel to get people into the country as fast as possible.
When you say working with the cartels, that's a pretty tough charge. I mean, you are the Attorney General of the state of Texas, one of the not just biggest but most important states in the union, an economic powerhouse. Did you just accuse the Biden administration of working with the cartels?
There may not be a written document that says that, but in fact, yes, that's exactly what they're doing. They have turned our border into a place where the cartels know that they can basically drop people off, and they're not trying to hide anymore. I mean, under all other administrations, they used to hide, they try to sneak across the border. Now they come straight to Border Patrol, and we're like a processing arm for the cartels. The cartels get paid per person and they make a lot of money on each person. And so the Biden administration is effectively, no matter how you want to slice this, they are partnering with the cartel to get people into our country as fast as possible.
When you say working with...
All right. Yeah. So guys, that's pretty... I think he's right. What say you guys?
Yeah, obviously that camp down in the Darien Gap kind of proves the point.
Yeah,
those people don't get through the Darien Gap without cartel approval alive. It's that simple.
Yeah, there's got to be coordination at some level.
There's timing here that matters a lot and should not be skipped over. Abbott declares an invasion, and then the Attorney General of Texas says, "You are aiding and abetting the invasion," which sounds a whole heck of a lot like providing aid and comfort to the enemy.
Yes.
Good point.
That's he didn't say the word treason, but he defined it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Massey's comment this morning too. Massey about an hour ago said, I think I'm going to sum up what he said because I can't find it here at the moment, but he essentially said, hey, I don't know why people are getting all twisted about this. Congress can literally prevent anything from happening by voting right now to not fund any action Biden might take against Texas at the border.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Good luck.
Yeah,
but
see, that's
he's not wrong.
Why would they do that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the administration will just use the war, the authorization to use military force and go through that.
There was a cartel guy there once. Yeah, I mean, a terrorist there once, right?
Right. When actually he's behind us. He's actually up in Dallas Fort Worth right now, going, oh, cool.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, Heather, you got thoughts on this?
I think that Paxton and I mean everybody who's weighed in, the states who have weighed in. I mean, we're a constitutional republic. We're not a dictatorship, and Biden has to enforce our borders according to the Constitution. And I know a lot of people are like, "Well, that document doesn't mean shit." Well, it does when you force it to, right? Like, so I think the state's flexing and saying, like, I called my governor and talked to his office yesterday. I was like, "Hey, bro, you haven't said anything about this. You gonna come out on this? Because you've got guard troops down there. What are you gonna do?" And the woman who I spoke to in his office, she's like, "He's going to talk about it today. Are you in favor of it?" And I was like, "Yes." And so, you know, I think that it's just important that I think the Civil War talk and all of that craziness, I don't know if you guys touched on that at the top, but that's not the conversation that needs to be had right now. I think there are many legal courses of action prior to any sort of action kicking off.
Well, I mean, the lawfare piece, I think, is going to be the biggest. I mean, is actually the most likely thing, right? But you know, even that could get fairly dramatic.
So, yes, it could, but unless I'm mistaken, most of the discussion about Civil War at the top was incompetence of people on the ground at the time, and that we get bullets flying because of incompetence, which I don't. I have to agree with you. The like, oh, we're just going to kick off the Civil War right now, shenanigans. I don't think that's the case. You know, whether or not Paxton says, "Hey, this is treason," as legal speak in definitions versus the president of the United States is committing treason against this country is a decent defining line. That like, hey, we're not. The South is not rising again. We'll be with you in a minute, right? I think the worry, at least for me, comes much more down to if you get two large groups of guys with guns and somebody pulls one, bad things can happen very quickly.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I also think, I mean, did you guys, and I'm sorry, guys, because I'm coming in late. Did you guys touch on the Islamic leader of Azerbaijan being at the border?
We did.
Yeah, we actually talked about that on Wednesday. What's your take on that?
Do we know if he was arrested?
No.
The Border Patrol never encountered him. That was a reporter. There was no federal law enforcement
I know,
involvement.
but there was a report that came out that 2 men from Azerbaijan were arrested on the same day. So I didn't know if it was him or not. But it doesn't matter.
Based on the checks I've done, it was not him.
Okay.
Because no one has been able to locate him anywhere.
Right.
So.
And so I posted my conspiracy theory. Like I fucking went complete OCD digging all over the internet, and I'm like, what's this? What happened here? What's that? So one of the things that just like immediately popped in my mind was that 60,000 tons of ammonium nitrate that went missing on that train ride. And somebody commented and on the bottom of the thread and was like, "Oh, they actually found that back at the warehouse." But I can't find that reporting.
I don't. I'm going to be honest. This guy is a little bit beyond ANFO bombs. This guy is way bigger fish than fertilizer bombs. Okay. He's more of a, hey, I got a pocket nuke, or we're going to attack in Mumbai style, where we're going to hit a whole. We're going to hit a whole downtown region. Yeah, I don't.
He's definitely.
I like where your head is, because something might be planned, but I don't think it's going to be the nitrogen fertilizer. Yeah. That takes too much material for a guy at his level.
Right. I would like to just highlight to everybody in the chat, if you haven't heard about it, and I'm going to mention it, so you will hear about it, and you need to read this book. It's a quick, easy read. It's by Kurt Schlichter, the columnist that's on Town Hall and things. It's a new book. It's only been out a couple weeks. It's called The Attack, and it details a multi-city 3-day attack against the U.S. It what inspired him to was the October 7th attack on Israel by Hamas. And he said, what would happen if that sort of an attack happened here in the U.S.? And of course, he extrapolated, the size of the U.S. and things like that. At the end of the book, it talks about hundreds of thousands of deaths of American citizens, innocent Americans. And every single one of the terrorists, of course, gets killed. He takes out Antifa and BLM too, which is yay. But it also, he says, and the Chinese infiltrators, they kept their heads down, and so they're still waiting for their go code. But the point is that it's not going to be a single target attack. We have so many vulnerable targets and so many vulnerable Americans that, but I would recommend to the chat, please read the book. And no, I don't get a cut from Kurt Schlichter's royalties or anything like that.
And something that shows internal dissent absolutely would facilitate an attack like that. And,
Let's remember, 2 different Chinese nationalists have been arrested while spray painting anti-Jewish graffiti on Jewish centers, trying to stir up that unrest. And what Samadov was arrested for was gathering rifles and small arms for a Mumbai-style attack in Azerbaijan. So in this case, I would think that'd be what he would be looking to do, is organize something along those lines. 3 different cities, craziness going on. All that stuff, but you're right, Heather. He's here for no good reason. So
well, actually, he's here for the shawarma.
Yeah,
obviously.
This is one of my.
Well, if he's here for the shawarma, I'll find him today because I know where the best shawarma in America is.
You and Tony Stark. Yeah.
This is one of my original kind of conversations along the future conflict route that I loved having, going back to my early days in the Army, i.e., just right around the Iraq time frame after Afghanistan, and that is a regional multi-Beslan style attack. And if you haven't studied the Chechen attack against the school in Beslan, that was in where was that? Was that Dagestan? Anyway, it was actually in Russia, I think, not Dagestan. But the point is they basically went into an area, they pinned down the school, and they basically used it as a honeypot to get the first responders in there to attack or whatever, and then they blew it up. And they killed a bunch of school kids, and so
a bunch. They killed several hundred.
Yeah, so 260, I think, something along those lines. They basically hung bombs up inside the gym so that they could basically blast the entire gym with all occupants when they kicked in the door. So something like that, especially with IEDs seated in the outer perimeter. To hit the families, because you've seen what happened at these school lockdowns. You get these crowds of families that want to get their kids out. Some IED seating in that, and then especially if you keep it within the same region to kind of soak up all the law enforcement response, that would be, so it would be a nightmare. But that's a different show.
Is this audio better? Can you guys hear me better?
Yeah, you sound great. A little low, but you sound great.
I can fix that.
All right, guys. The last thing. There's two. We got 2 final things. We were talking about what the military would think if they saw all this kind of stuff going down. These are the military folks that are working side to side with the both CBP, BP, and the Texas National Guard. This is a tweet at graduated Dr. Ben Braddock. I don't know this guy, but I agreed with the sentiment of the tweet, so I think that's why I'm letting you guys know about it. Just spoke with a U.S. Army officer stationed on the border. His orders to patrol this month haven't been renewed due to SecDef being AWOL and rippling down the chain of command. Texas military has displayed the pinnacle of professionalism and integrity, impressing U.S. military service members. I would assume that means active duty military service members. And active duty U.S. military service members are openly discussing defecting to the Texas side should a major break open between Texas and the U.S. government. And so I thought this was interesting. I don't know. This is absolute hearsay, scuttlebutt. Ron, you know the deal. You've heard these types of things 1,000 times in
Right.
different contexts. But I absolutely believe that there are active duty guys on the border that would believe exactly this.
Well, I think there's active duty guys throughout Texas. Remember, Texas has 2 armored divisions, one at whatever Fort Hood is called this week,
Hood
then Fort
and
Bliss.
Hood and Bliss, yeah.
And the B1s are all concentrated now down in Dias because we had a B1 crash out here at Ellsworth and outside of Rapid City, and so they moved the B1s down there. So they're all consolidated. You have active duty and reserve Air National Guard F-16s. I mean, and these people like Texas. I mean, people from throughout the other 49 states, when they get stationed in Texas, they like living in Texas, and they retire there, and they take on the identity of Texans. So yeah, I could see that happening. That a lot of servicemen, say they'll make a choice, and especially if they marry local people, if their husband or wife is a local, they're going to say, well, honey, you can go back to wherever your home state is and pretend you're a Fed, or you can stay here with me and the kids and fight for Texas.
So, in a very related to the sentiment of the tweet sense, I have had a couple of people reach out to me, and while I have no idea about the pay, the rest of that has been basically the sentiment of what is going on. I have no idea. Like, you can take my word for that or not. It carries the same weight as the rumor that is a tweet. Make no mistake, but it is from very unrelated places.
And just to go further, so here we have this tweet, and we have Don's testimony and my opinion, and this guy Ben Braddock. So the people at the Pentagon, they're probably got their heads so deep in the sand they don't realize this, that hey, DEI appointment to the chairmanship of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We might not want to do this because you're not going to be able to count on the loyalty of a majority of the people in Texas and throughout the U.S. military across the globe. I mean, it's not just going to be Texas itself. A lot of people are going to say, "Yeah, no, I don't agree with that," and they're gonna declare for Texas, or declare we're just sitting this one out. I think the barracks day room is a lot safer this week.
Yeah. Joe, what's your thoughts on this?
Joe disappeared.
Well, my thoughts are that we're nowhere near kinetic action, so I don't think we need to worry about this yet. But it's possible. I mean, you can't count out human nature, but I honestly think that at this point, after having effectively stripped most of the stateside military of anyone with any independent thought, you might not see it. You might not see that many defections. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. I have a source in the active duty Army who would disagree.
So
that's one guy, right? I get it. Your son is a very, very he's the right kind of guy, but not necessarily everyone.
I know a couple guys.
So we're not talking about your dating app, dude.
Hey. I deleted Grindr years ago.
The thing is, it doesn't actually, and this will be at least as much of a problem, is it doesn't require actual defections, right? Guys who just happenstancely roll over a spike strip on their way to the motor pool in the morning, so their 7-ton needs a tire change, so you can't punch on time, right? The military is notoriously very good at this sort of thing. When it doesn't want to do something, it just kind of doesn't do it, right?
The E4 Mafia.
Exactly.
Well, I've always said the most likely thing to happen if a civil war broke out, the most likely thing to happen across the vast majority of combat arms units within the active duty military is just to stay in their barracks. And I don't mean like the soldiers say, screw this, I'm playing Nintendo all day long or whatever. I'm going to play Xbox. I'm not going to go do what you're telling me to do, sir. it would be. I think that's the position that officers. Now, I don't think that's a position of courage. I think that is a position of like, cover my ass. I'm going to sit my guys down in the barracks. We're going to see which way this goes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is sad, but it would also keep the active duty off the streets, which is ultimately, better than taking up arms against patriots.
Well, against fellow Americans.
Yeah.
The other book I would recommend to the people listening in the audience in the chat is the gentleman who wrote Flight of the Last Intruder, or whatever that book was. But he wrote a book a few years ago called Liberty's Last Stand.
Dale Brown?
No, that was Flight of the Old Dog.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, so he wrote a book called Liberty's Last Stand, and in it he postulates a Texas secession from the Union, and how other states join and or declare neutrality, and how the Texas National Guard becomes the Texas military, and impacts the ability of the U.S. military to strike back at Texas kinetically, and also he describes a pretty gobsmacked DEI like Pentagon structure type thing. So, anyways, just there's always a little bit of truth in some fiction, and it's always good to read it and consider it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've had several authors on this channel that have done a pretty damn good job. I mean, one of them earlier was Angry, and how and the whole premise of his book, his Survivor series, has military guys basically saying, go fuck yourself, and helping out the regular people.
Yeah, everybody wants to be Stump Knocker. I got it.
Well, he's retired, so it doesn't. Retired people don't matter, Ron.
Says the man who's looking at retirement in a couple years.
Amen, brother. I can't wait. All right, let's go on. This is the last thing I want to talk about, guys. And Joe, we were talking about this before the show started.
That's my chat.
What's a second. What did I miss something?
Private chat.
Oh, all right. Watcher, you need to take off.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Right. Yeah, no problem. This is our last thing anyway. So thanks for helping out. See you on Monday. All right, guys, and I appreciate you guys hanging with me. We will finish before the 3-hour mark. This is the thing that I thought was just kind of just crazy, because these are the bad guys. As far as the names go, this is a memo to the Speaker of the House. The United States is facing a new and imminent danger, and so I was kind of like, why are these guys coming out and saying it? And Joe, you correctly, I think, said that they're trying to get out ahead of the fact that they've put all of these dangerous people on American streets. Real quick,
make no mistake, these guys were involved in the decision that got these people here.
Actually, there is a thread. Let me find the thread, because the thread kind of breaks this down really well. I think it's in our chat.
But I've always been against Nazism and fascism and the concentration camps. I just had to keep my head down.
Right.
Oh, this smacks of I haven't beaten my wife in at least 6 months.
Well, I'm sure your forced wife is pleased to hear that.
All right, let me
find talking about me. I was talking about them.
I know. Just got to pick on you.
Let's see. I'm not finding this thread. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was a guy who basically broke down key points from this, and I forgot about that thread till just now. Anyway, it's not that big a deal. I could kind of just hit the high points here. But what they're really talking about is a danger arises from the nature of the threat itself. Wars and espionage and bombing or riots are sadly familiar. The country has faced these threats more throughout its history and is held together. The threat we call out today is new and unfamiliar. In its modern history, the United States has never suffered an invasion of the homeland, and yet One is unfolding now. Guys, where have we heard this before? We've been talking about this for 2 damn years. And now they're finally talking about it. And the kicker is going to be the names that are on this thing. So military-aged men from across the globe, many from countries or regions not friendly to the United States, are landing in waves on our soil by the thousand. By the way, did you guys see the video of the boat landing illegal immigrants on the beach in California that's been going around today? I never thought I would actually see an invasion happening directly on the shores, but sure enough. Let's see. Not splashing ashore from ship or parachuting from a plane, but rather by foot across the border that has been accurately advertised around the world as largely unprotected. Okay, so this is what it is. And now they're going to go on and talk about whatever. Let's look at who's Kevin Brock. Okay, we've heard that name before. Chris Swecker, that's a FBI guy. Healy, Morgan, Weiss, Gavin, McNally, Mitchell, Salzi, Garcia. These guys were all FBI guys during the what time period, guys?
Russia hoax.
The Russia hoax.
The Russia hoax Trump time, yeah.
Exactly.
They're all retired now.
That's right. Now we saw we remember that CIA letter that was written by a bunch of retired CIA guys, Ron, that you were amazing at calling that out, and it's an absolute corruption of the service.
Oh yeah, they were, like I said before, I knew about half the people. Not obviously you all know the senior leadership, but some of the worker bees I knew, and they were shitbirds in the agency, and they just proved themselves in public, and they continue to persist that the letter was accurate and timely and didn't impact the election at all. So,
but so I part of me wants to say, well, at least they're being, they're the broken clock that's right twice a day. But Joe, I think you.
No, being right on one thing doesn't excuse your malfeasance before.
That's right.
Right.
Well, we'll just arrest them last.
I think you did a good job of pointing this out. They're literally trying to get ahead of this.
So,
due process, Joe. Due process.
There's another thing that my incredibly cynical ass thinks is going on here. One, they're out of the game, so the consequences are low / none. But two, I think somebody looked in the mirror and went, "Oh, I'm touchable now." To this actual problem, I might have to suffer the consequences of this. So maybe we should do something. And in true U.S. government fashion, that something was write a memo.
And your ass is not cynical. It's quite cute, Don, but that's just me.
Thanks, sweet cheeks.
You're welcome. Love my gun bunny.
Well, it's some sort of a wolf something. I can't remember the second half of that, but anyway.
This is getting spicy. I need to put some boots or boot bands on right quick.
I know, but we have mixed company, so I can't say certain things. Heather, what's your kind of take of them?
When did you guys start filtering yourself for me?
Why do you think I'm getting boots? Who's filtering themselves?
He just doesn't want to have to wash his socks again.
That's right.
I fucking love you guys.
Heather, getting out ahead of this, what do you think this is? This is, these are the people that were basically gaslighting us a year ago on this issue, and now they're, look at us, we're smart, we've identified this problem.
Yeah, I think that, well, you see, right, the Biden administration, or the Democrats, I guess I should say, whenever these same individuals signed on to their, X number of people have said that this is this, like the 21 people who said that Donald Trump was, or the election was affected by Russia or whatever, like what they do is they give the credence or the credibility for a change of action through the organization of the Democratic Party, right? So you intelligence officials, you people who are in the know, which they're not because they're fucking retired, you put out a letter and then we can say, oh, this isn't political. This is for the national security. These people have said this is a threat. We have to do this. And so then it takes Joe Biden knows right now from a country perspective, this is this is the number one issue polling right now, even over the economy at this point. It's making him, like I said when I first came in here, he is in between a rock and a hard place, and he needs someone to give him an out. And I think that's what this is. This is, we're giving you the opportunity to say, I wouldn't do this from a humanitarian perspective. I want to let all these people in, but see what these FBI officials are saying, see what our intelligence officials are saying. I have to act in the best interest of this country.
Yeah, no, I think it is an interesting rock and a hard spot kind of position. I mean, guys, how does he get away from this? Because he literally created this problem. I mean, the border pressure was there, but even without being able to create the wall, to build the wall, Congress pretty much, paid to that, especially the last 2 years of his administration. Even without being able to build the wall, Trump was able to drastically reduce illegal crossings and especially the Remain in Mexico, all that kind of stuff. Really did a good job of putting at least a kind of a finger in the dike, right? Whereas Biden didn't try to keep the finger in the dike. He took a sledgehammer to the dike. And now he's basically, like you said, Heather, he's basically identified that this is an issue that people care about, and he's between a rock and a hard putt because he can't fix it.
And that's why he's going to double down, because he's going to follow the Obama playbook, because that's who's advising. I mean, the Obama acolytes are going to advise him to double down on this stuff. They can't back up because they're so close to achieving true socialism and true nirvana and replacing all of us.
But yeah, these people. Yeah, go ahead.
Once you stop saying what's Biden going to do and you realize the real question is what's Obama going to do, you realize a whole different chain of events. Barack Obama never intended to collapse the country while he was at the helm, because then he can't present himself as the savior during this crisis. The plan was for him to set up the conditions and for it to all collapse during Hillary's reign. And Donald Trump was the spoiler. They never counted on that. And that's why they went so absolutely insane. But they're back on track now. And they're perfectly willing to allow this train to run off the tracks and into the side of the mountain. You need to understand that and stop thinking, well, they need this and they need that. They don't care. They're willing to run this train off of there. George Soros, who funds all of this, once said famously, and, some people might roll their eyes when I bring him up, but he exists and he really said it. The last impediment to a true one world government is the United States of America.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeing Michael Obama making her more public appearances now.
Yeah. And that's why Alexander Soros wrote that article that featured a bullet hole through a pane of glass and $47 in cash on the front of it. They're trying to inspire something that increases civil conflict.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally been a chorus of people calling for, can't somebody rid us of this crazy Trump person?
Absolutely. They know what that would bring. It's not about Trump. It's about the rest of you.
Well, when we see this neo-Marxist dream being perpetrated like this on a daily basis, I want to leave you guys with a final thought that even the children are able to answer the question correctly. I share with you this simple illustration. When I grow up, I want to be Pinochet. Draw what your job is. Me in the helicopter, communist swine falling from the helicopter. And of course, this neo-Marxist teacher gives him an F and says, please see me after class. There is only one, of course, I'm sure this is a made up meme, but the point is apt for our current, world. We've got to be unequivocal, with people who want to destroy us. When people want to destroy us, you just can't give in to them. Now, there's a lot of useful idiots out there, and I don't think that necessarily those are useful idiots falling out of the helicopter. sometimes you never know. So it's just keep your eyes, your head on a swivel, because we're going into some really dangerous times. Guys, I'm going to go around the horn. Final thoughts going into the weekend. What do you think we're going to see? Are we going to need to have an emergency episode of the Council on Future Conflict for Saturday night? I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, I think that you're going to see a couple of different things. Number one is they need something, anything to distract from the Texas issue, because it makes the federal government look weak. So I'd watch for something, one of these totally random but completely planned shooting events or something.
Mhm.
The other thing is that we need to see some movement on the Red Sea, because what happened was my locals people know this, but Maersk tried to push 2 ships through under Operation Prosperity Guardian, and they got fired at immediately. And Maersk turned around and said, "Sorry, U.S. Navy, we out."
They pulled out. Yeah.
And that really made the Navy look bad. So the Navy and the UK Navy are going to need to do something to handle the Houthis. So I would look for a lot more action in the Red Sea over the weekend. Apparently, while we were on the show, a destroyer shot down an incoming missile. But there's a lot more going on in the world. So look for something big to distract from Texas, and look for some action in the Red Sea.
Real quick, I got a Pinochet's helicopter tour. Just thought that was a app that we've got the actual visual description of that. For $1, says Gina Haspel went to work for Chris Ray's old firm. What more evidence do you need? Yeah, I mean, these people were all swamp creatures.
Wait, the Q people told me that she got shot in a shootout in Germany, saving the election records that proved Donald Trump won.
Obviously.
Oh, God.
Trust the plan, Joe. Come on now. Jeez.
If you're not trusting, are you even alive?
Ron, what's your kind of looking into the weekend? Where do you think we're going to see this jump?
Well, I think Joe's absolutely correct. I mean, his track record is impeccably correct. But let's recall, I mean, it's Friday, and bad news or complicated news usually comes out late Friday night type of thing, because people are more going to focus on, the NFL's, NFL championships are coming up this weekend, and
sports ball
or whatever. Yeah. So it's but the distraction thing is spot on, and I mean, and Donald Trump canceled a rally somewhere, and instead he's going to Vegas to do a rally there, or to Nevada, and I wouldn't be surprised if he on his way back from that he diverts to Texas and makes an appearance.
Yep,
and
on the border,
right? Because if you may or may not know, our governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, is going there, or is there right now.
The Montana governor's there too.
Okay, well, see, they're gonna, and of course, Kristi's on the short list for Trump's VP candidate. So, and she's a little bit more photogenic than the Montana governor, and
a little less bald.
So, and she knows how to ride a horse really well. But anyway, yeah. So look for.
You're actually talking about a horse. Anyway,
stop. You're making me blush, and Heather's here, and she's gonna I'm never gonna want him on my show. He's too easily embarrassed.
No, she already told me that. So.
Oh, okay. Whew. Good. Well, then my secrets are safe. Anyways, that's all I got, Scott.
Actually, Pinochet helicopter tour for $2 says, also, it's not my fault Tim Pool got taken down last night. He even mentioned me in the member stream. By the way, does anybody in the chat, if any of you guys know why he got pulled down? I didn't. I tried to find him around noon my time, which is usually when the show goes off. That's lunch for me. So I was rather I was like, where the hell is his show? So
I am told that Jesse Kelly was spitting some spicy fire, and the stream cut out midstream. Now, if Tim historically has any bearing on this, that means Tim went, "Oh my God, YouTube's going to take me down," and shut the stream off.
Yeah,
and that is how the
it just
show
goes
got
member
taken
only.
down.
But yeah. All right. Anyway, so Tim Pool is normie safe for in a lot of ways. So No hate on him, but I definitely don't agree with a lot of his stances.
Because Jesse Kelly said throw traffickers out of helicopters. I mean, I don't know what the issue with that is.
Yeah, what's the problem with that? Yeah. All right. Heather, what do you got your finger on the pulse going in the weekend?
Obviously, just all of the domestic stuff that's going on. I want to keep an eye on Texas. I think that some major discussions are being taken place right now, and it's going to be really interesting to watch the pivot. I think that Joe Biden is going to have to do something about the border, like actively participate in the process. So, and then you know me, like I disconnect from the internet on the weekends. I'm just ready to, like, my kid has a state violin solo tomorrow and she has a gymnastics competition, and then we've got orchestra practice on Sunday, so it's just lots of kid stuff.
Yeah, my youngest is still pretty active on the piano. Not nearly as good on violin as she is on piano. So I appreciate her piano practice much better. It actually sounds like we're being serenaded because she's pretty advanced. But yeah, the violin occurs at the opposite end of our place from where I sit. So that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. All right. Don, I mean, somebody's got to have a negative outlook going into the weekend. What's your thoughts?
Oh, is that what we're looking for? I got you, man. No worries. In 90 or so minutes here, we get to find out how much the border situation explodes.
Yeah, the federal government's time limit.
Exactly. I am in the fallout zone, so I'll know. And it's going to be super exciting, I'm sure. There is, as chat mentioned a few times, the rumor, I cannot confirm, but the rumor is that Abbott is in India. I know there's lots of pictures of him in India right now, which may explain why he hasn't been arrested by the FBI already. But maybe he lands back here over the weekend and the FBI rolls in and arrests him for insurrection, and they start all of the crazy shooting, and we're all dead before Monday, so there's no need for a Saturday show.
Well, I mean, here in North Korea might attack, so that might make I could do frontline reportage from the end of the world, Asia style. So
there you go. I'll see if I can stream a cell phone direct to you, so you can watch me be bombed.
Cool. Maybe we'll get bombed at the same time.
I don't believe these people who say that he's about to attack. I don't even know where that's coming from.
I mean, I hope not, but we'll see. I think the interesting thing to keep an eye on is the time limit that'll be going off here in a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of like strategic silence for the next 48 hours after that. I could see maybe then, doing something at the, at night, try to like coup de main type thing, or basically occupy by force, roll a bunch of feds in the middle of the night, something along those lines. I can see that.
That seems tremendously more likely. Friday night unpopular things, as I think Ron mentioned, are the traditional way to do things. If the general public's not going to do it, if it happens at 10 p.m. Eastern on a Friday, then the general public doesn't know that it happened. And there's stuff that's true about that's 20 years old. So if they're going to do anything other than the most likely thing they do, which is file for some sort of injunction against Texas to stop being mean, which I would fully expect that whatever court filing comes down to basically just say Texas is super duper mean and making us look super duper bad in legal speak.
Yeah. I think actually the first salvo will be lawfare before anything else. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. All right, guys, if you've made it to this point of the show, thank you. Appreciate it. 521 watching. That's a little more than our average Friday stream. So thank you very much. We usually average around 480 on Fridays here lately on Rumble. Guys, the high point I saw was 715 with another 100 or so on the other platforms. So that would put us over 800, and that would be a record for the show. So thank you for a record-breaking day. If you guys are willing to support us, it's easy. Just hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I saw several people say that this is a first time they've seen us. So if it's the first time, definitely check us out in the future. The point of this channel is to kind of look over the next terrain feature and see what conflict is coming. And the best way to do that is to understand the environment that we're in today, so that we can kind of look for those warnings and indicators, as a good friend of ours always says. So that's what we do here on this channel. We generally look mostly at foreign policy type stuff, foreign military. But here lately, on Fridays, we've been absolutely focused on the crazy stuff that's going on inside the U.S. So we will continue to do that, especially through the silly season that we're going into with the election. Appreciate everybody here. Heather, thank you for coming in, even if it's a little bit late. Sorry if I censored myself at all. I'll remember not to do that in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, real quick to your audience, I am not sure what's going on with my mic. Nobody's ever told me that it's not working. So I sincerely apologize.
Quality is fine. It's just low.
Yeah, the volume is just low. So,
but you're audible. And I mean,
okay, sorry guys.
there you go.
The thing going wrong with your mic is the interface that we're all using. I blame this thing for everything because it's terrible.
Yeah, well, it's not terrible, but it's the worst of all the best that work, right? If you haven't done it already, check out the tactical-wisdom.com. Ron, God love you. You don't have anything to promote. Heather, what's your channel? Can you remind people where they can find you?
Okay, so go to no, I'm just kidding. Go to at Shouse34 on Twitter, and then go to my bio. That's got all my shit on there. I've got a morning show that I do. I've got a podcast. I've got a live stream, and then there's shit I do on Twitter too. So just come hang out wherever, whenever. Tonight, you can come tonight, 10:15 Eastern time for Liberty Happy Hour. That'll be fun. Come fight and argue about all the shit that happened this week.
Yeah, you've got some pretty lively streams. So definitely, if you're a fan of this show, I think, and you love liberty and the Constitution, definitely. That's a good place to check out.
She does draw more than her fair share of crazy drunks too, though, which is a little bit fun.
Actually, there have not been any. I've been kind of sad. I have not gotten any ridiculousness lately. No crazy people from overseas. No drunkards. It's been super. I know.
So there's a challenge. So this is a challenge now.
You guys have some drinks. Yeah. I'll see you tonight.
Right. I will fall on this sword. I'll see you tonight.
I will say that as we've gone a little earlier than what we used to do, I haven't done any drunk streams in a long time. So maybe if the Civil War kicks off, then that'll be a good reason for me to go ahead and do another drunk stream.
Let me just say one thing here is that I know that I said that I don't see much kinetic action coming out of this, but if you really want to see where the thirst for civil war is, go look at the replies by the leftists literally all over Twitter today.
Oh my God.
They are giddy about the prospect of killing you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this was something that Watcher had teed up, and we didn't mention. I will mention it very quickly. Is the we're going to have A-10s. Let's see how your National Guard guys with AR-15s do against the A-10s and the drones. And, I'm just like, I mean, do you realize that the Dale Starks of the world are not on your side?
Well, and Phoenix Ammo nailed it. So when that A-10 driver lands, he finds out that his wife and kids were killed when their house was burned down while he was out flying that sortie to kill him.
Is that a Dale Stark quote? Because I love that quote, and I can never remember who said it.
It was Phoenix Ammo who threw it up there. Dale Stark said a couple spicy things too, but Phoenix Ammo, somebody said that they should use an A-10 to kill Phoenix Ammo. And he goes, yeah. Then he returns home, finds out that his and the maintainers' families were all killed while he was in the air.
Yeah.
By the way, all the maintainers too, by the way, because the maintainers go home at night too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really quick to your audience. So literally, Heather, I'm going to tell this story real fast to your audience because they don't know. And it sounds completely pretentious. So I obviously get in fights with people on the internet because I spend most of my time on Twitter. But specifically, there was a little bit of a debate going back and forth about whether or not I should have the right to keep and bear arms. And this lady said to me, "You're literally Hitler." And I was like, "No, actually, I'm literally Heather." And
That's close
so
enough.
from that point moving forward, that is what, because that's the moniker is everybody is literally Hitler. So now I'm literally Heather.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's what it is. You can
I've
actually
never
it's
heard
funny,
that
you
story
can
before, I don't
Google
think.
literally Heather, and
Hey.
that comes up more than like my handle and stuff because
Heather, it's 34, right? It's Shouse
yes,
34,
it's at
right?
Shouse 34. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Because PD said he can't find you. This is my second time telling him it's Shouse 34. So
Oh, and by the way, I know I dropped the link in the chat, but Jay Clark did as well. Watch Your Store is the Idaho Gaming Guild, and you can find that at www.idahogamingguild.com. For those of you who are into 40K and Magic the Gathering, like if 40K is, he only gets so much of that, but the Magic stuff, he gets pretty good supplies on that. So if you're into playing Magic and whatnot, I ain't into that stuff anymore. I used to play it, but
here's a cool thing. If you're gonna come to the classes in April and May, Matt's and I's classes in Montana, we're gonna drag Watcher over the mountain, and we're gonna stand him next to Yorick, and you're gonna see how much they look alike. I'm gonna have to get Yorick a box because he's nowhere near as tall as Watcher. But we're gonna have them stand side by side and take a photo.
I've seen Watcher in person, and yeah, I haven't seen him in person. I've seen him in video and whatnot, so I can only imagine. So
no, when he walked into the cabin, both me and Stan were like, "Wow, okay, we did not expect this Watcher."
Really,
Yeah, he's only about 9 miles tall.
Yeah, he's a tall dude.
What is he like? He's like 6'2", 6'3", something like that.
I think 6'3". Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Ron, thanks for joining us. Heather, thanks for joining us. Don, Joe, you guys are awesome. Appreciate all. We had a huge group earlier, so thank you to all the guys who came in earlier. Thank you to the chat. If it wasn't for what you guys do coming in here watching the show, we'd just be a bunch of old dudes screaming into the void. So we appreciate you and your time. And as we always end on here, whether it's Civil War or nuclear war or World War III, just make sure you stay safe.